1,000 new soldiers to its ranks. Kevin Uretsky, Fox News.
2 police officers are recovering in Michigan the day after being shot.
Southgate Director of Public Safety Joe Marsh says Southgate police were responding to a call at an apartment complex about a man waving a gun around when the suspect opened fire.
Both officers said they immediately made contact with the individual, and he quickly produced a handgun and started firing at our police officers. 2 of our officers were initially struck. Both of them struck in the lower, in the legs.
Noting both officers are in stable condition, the suspect, who they believe lives in the apartment complex, fleeing the scene.
Fox's Kristen Goodwin. A short time later, police did apprehend a suspect in the shootings. On Wall Street, stock futures are down modestly coming off of a day off. There was no trading on the Juneteenth holiday. The NBA Finals will go the distance. The Pacers force a Game 7.
Jalen Williams, 16 points, throws it away. Halliburton comes out with it. Cross court, Siakam for the slam.
Indiana beat the Oklahoma City Thunder 108-91 on ABC to keep the series going. The championship deciding next game will be Sunday night. I'm Dave Anthony. This is Fox News.
This is an urgent announcement for anyone that's $10,000 or more in debt. Before you make another minimum payment, you need to know there are special programs that can completely free you of your debt. Total Financial Freedom can help you become debt-free in months instead of years. Resolve your credit card debt, signature loans, department store cards, internet loans, and timeshares. Call now at 800-533-6605 for a free consultation. For 17 years, Total Financial Freedom has helped thousands get out of debt. You can feel confident when calling because Total Financial Freedom is A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau and a Christian-owned company. Don't get stuck in the endless cycle of payments. You have the right to get your debt resolved and substantially reduce your monthly payments. Call Christian-owned Total Financial Freedom now at 800-533-6605. That's 800-533-6605. 800-533-6605.
Chicagoland certified financial planning professional Tim Stearns discusses taxes in retirement.
Most people are paying more in taxes and keeping less of their money to live and do what they enjoy. That's why we've put out the retirement tax bill calculator online. You can see with your own eyes just how much you might be overpaying. It's a valuable tool, $500 value, but we made it free for you to view and run your own numbers at mvpcfp.com. That's mvpcfp.com.
To run your retirement tax bill calculator, go to mvpcfp.com.
Investment advisory services offered through Cornerstone Securities, LLC.
For months, you've been hearing ads about Virago Immune Support. I have to tell you, this stuff is for real. I had an occasion to not be feeling well on a remote broadcast. I took it, and it is the real deal. And the stronger your immune system, the stronger your body defends against diseases, viruses, and everything else. That's why Dr. Huber created Virago, a liquid immune booster supplement. You take it daily. It's a blend of 23 nutraceuticals working in synergy to maximize effects and boost your immune system. It's the nutraceutical cocktail for an immune system, antiviral, anti-inflammatory, antioxidant. Virago even protects your heart, your kidneys, your liver, all in a unique liquid supplement for better absorption. Do yourself and your spouse a favor. Order a bottle of Virago today online at myvirago.com. That's myvirago.com. Use coupon code IMMUNE to save 30%. Maha and Virago, making America healthy again.
A great smile can make you feel happy and confident. So when you consciously conserve your teeth, that glowing smile will show through. At Best Dental Group, Doctors Economos, Gavalis, and their staff are ready to help you create that perfect look or maintain the one you have now. Along with general dentistry, Best Dental Group is a multidiscipline practice with an orthodontist, periodontist, and prosthetic specialists on site. They use the newest breakthroughs in dental technology such as titanium implants, Invisalign clear braces, and laser treatments. Don't let fear get in the way. They can recommend sedation to make your experience as comfortable as possible. Best Dental Group is located in historic downtown Bartlett and is a multilingual office. Call 630-830-4930, 630-830-4930, or visit bestdental.org. Best Dental Group, sharing your conservative values and helping you to conserve your teeth.
Make sure that you never miss a day of Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson when you subscribe to the Chicago's Morning Answer podcast, presented by Signature Bank. Listen to the entire show each day on demand with limited commercial breaks. You can subscribe today for free at 560theanswer.com and click on podcasts or search for Chicago's Morning Answer on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
It's June 20th, and this is your Fox Daily Snapshot. Today is Ice Cream Soda Day, perfect to cool you down on a hot day. The roots trace back to 1874 in Philadelphia when Robert Greene mixed vanilla ice cream in the soda he was selling since he had no ice, creating the sweet treat. Also on this day in 1941, Ford signs its first contract with the United Automobile Workers of America, ending a long, bitter struggle between Henry Ford and organized labor unions. During the Cold War in 1963, the U.S. and Soviet Union agreed to set up a nuclear hotline. When you hear this, you think of one movie, Jaws, released on this date in 1975. The summer thriller put Steven Spielberg on the map. Born on this day in 1967 in Honolulu, Hawaii, American-Australian actress Nicole Kidman. She won the Academy Award for Best Actress in 2003 for the movie The Hours. I'm CJ Papa. That's your Fox Daily Snapshot.
Everybody seems to be more health conscious these days, worrying about their weight, what they eat, what they put into their bodies. And if you're in pain, taking pills to mask the pain is not the answer. Hi, Amy Jacobson here. Please listen up. There is hope to end your chronic pain due to arthritis or an injury, and that's QC Kinetics. QC Kinetics is different. These are not quick fixes. This is a revolutionary treatment that works to give your body long-term relief. You will meet medical director Dr. Ashley Caravelli and her team. They'll explain how their regenerative treatments take your own body's healing power and helps restore damaged tissue. So say goodbye to chronic pain and live your best life. Find out if you're a candidate. The consultation is free with appointments on weekdays and Saturdays. Contact my good friends at QC Kinetics. Call 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955. Again, 312-809-5955.
Want to see if you could pay less in taxes? Try the quick and easy tax calculator at willsave.com. Yes, a free tax calculator. That's WILSAVE.com. Calculate how you could keep more of your hard-earned money and give less to Uncle Sam, especially in retirement. Get your free tax analysis today at willsave.com. And don't forget to tune in to Protecting Your Assets with Steve Shyman every Saturday morning at 8, right here on AM 560, The Answer.
This is a special alert during this window replacement season. Don't get tricked by the cheapest offers and gimmicky ads. Now's the time to see and feel the difference of high-performance windows from Valdecas.
When it's time to consider new windows, siding, and doors for your home, you need to look no further. Sebastian Gorka here to tell you about Valdecas. Valdecas has been the trusted name chosen by thousands of homeowners, and they should be your number one choice too. But what's really behind the name Valdecas? Over 25 years of a team dedicated to providing you with the best customer service experience and products that truly bring value to your home. They are a Pella Platinum Elite Status certified contractor for a reason. They have an A+ rating with the BBB, as well as high ratings and positive reviews on both Google and Houzz. Schedule your free in-house consultation at Valdecas.com.
Ask about their exclusive manufacturer warranties and their 10-year workmanship guarantee.
Don't wait. Book today at Valdecas.com. For the best in class, it's Valdecas.
I'm worried about Mom. She's having a tough time moving around the house.
Oh, I know. She still thinks she can do everything on her own.
Exactly, but I've been over there every day this week, helping her navigate the stairs, cooking meals, reminding her to take her medicine. I'm always nervous when I leave.
You know what? I admire you for taking care of Mom. But your family needs you too. And what if she slips and falls? A friend recommended the caregivers at Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest. They service Cook, DuPage, Kane, and Will counties. They guarantee compatibility and they'll conduct a free safety assessment of her home. Plus, they'll provide as little or as much care as Mom needs.
Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest, offering both hourly and live-in care. Schedule a free assessment today by calling 331-281-0728. That's 331-281-0728. Again, that's 331-281-0728. And tell them AM 560 sent you. Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest. Senior care, only better.
This is Carol Platt-Liebau for townhall.com. The New York Times celebrated Father's Day in its own inimitable way. Susanna Meadows, a senior staff editor in the opinion section, devoted an entire piece to trashing her 92-year-old father. The essay is a lengthy litany of woe. Meadows tells us her father gave her financial anxiety and a genetic predisposition to melanoma. He was a sexist and a drinker, an adulterer too. It's no surprise when Meadows reveals herself as part of the left. Its disdain for males is evident. That's the Democrats' real problem. They can spend $20 million trying to learn how to win back men. But while their party is dominated by unhappy women who dislike and distrust males, they might as well just light that money on fire. There's no reason for men to support a political party that offers them nothing but resentment and contempt. I'm Carol Platt-Liebau.
Today, millions of people all across America are building a life in recovery from addiction and mental illness, helping themselves
and helping each other, with friends, family, and community lending their strength and support.
Join the Voices for Recovery.
Together, we are stronger.
For 24-hour free and confidential information and treatment referral for mental and substance use disorders, for you or someone you know, call 1-800-662-HELP.
Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Did you know that AM 560 Radio has a full-service digital marketing division called Salem Surround? If you're a business decision maker, listen up. AM 560 listeners are everywhere your potential audience is. So are our incredible targeting capabilities. We localize digital marketing and put it within reach of every business, small and large, in Chicagoland and beyond. Salem Surround offers AI-powered marketing solutions that reach your ideal audience. Whether or not you tap into the proven live, local, and emotional connection that AM 560 Radio brings, Salem Surround offers a total marketing solution to our partners. All-in-one digital solutions that provide targeted local digital and social media ads, Google AdWords management, website services, video strategy, search optimization, and even a management dashboard to offer you total campaign updates and transparency. Your Salem Surround representative is located right here in Chicago. Experience the Salem Surround digital revolution today. Call 847-472-8951. That's 847-472-8951.
Now, your official weather forecast.
We've got some sun and clouds today with a couple of brief midday showers. It'll be warm and breezy this afternoon with high up to 86. Partly cloudy, warm and humid tonight with low 73. Mostly sunny tomorrow, windy with a high 97. I'm Ruth O'Brien on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Chicago. This is not Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson. This is your beloved John Anthony, host of Detroit's Morning Answer, and also Black and White Radio, heard every Saturday. Detroit's heard Monday through Friday on 92.7. Now, I get this question a lot from a lot of people. So what we're going to be doing today is, again, a simulcast of Chicago's Morning Answer along with Detroit's Morning Answer. So at the 6 o'clock Central Time, we're going to shift from calling it the Chicago Morning Answer to the Morning Answer. I know I forget it a lot, and sometimes I call it Detroit, sometimes I call it Chicago. So my guest who's going to help me, I hope he's going to help me because he's a 12-year radio veteran, and I'm sure he's going to chide me when I make a lot of mistakes today. My brother, Mike Coolidge. Mike, welcome to Chicago's Morning Answer.
John, I am absolutely thrilled to be here. I've been in the studio many times, and yes, I did host my own show for years, The Michael Coolidge Show, but this is the first time that I am helping to fill in on my favorite radio show, which is Dan and Amy on Chicago.
Oh, that's right.
We listen to it every single morning. It's the best show. It's the best show on the radio, not just in this area of the country.
I definitely agree with you there. I forgot. We did do was it a DNC coverage or a debate night?
We did a debate night here. We did DNC coverage here. Years ago, I did some weekend work here, filling in and stuff. I was a guest on Dan and Amy when I ran for Congress in 2022. But I've never actually filled in on my favorite radio show.
We tried.
We tried that one time. That was that one time, and you're like, oops, Amy is actually coming in. So I said, okay, no worries.
And I didn't actually get to do it because Dan came in as well. So I wasn't able to do the show either. You said you ran for Congress. I tried to tell you, don't do it. Don't do it. What was that? Especially when you run for office here, especially here in the state of Illinois, it's different, isn't it?
Yes.
It's you think that there's going to be a lot of this fanfare, a lot of this support. What'd you get?
The most eye-opening thing about running for Congress was how little people actually follow politics.
Mm-hmm.
We're political junkies. We know what's going on in the news just because we're addicted to all of the, ebb and flow of what's going on in the country and the state and all that. And then you just assume that most people are too. We had to educate people at the time that there was even an election coming up, But it was fun. It was great. It was funny when I came on here on Dan and Amy, 2 years ago, whatever. Dan said I'm doing it backwards. I had a radio show which I quit to run for Congress. He said usually it's the other way around. These people are politicians and then they get into radio.
Ding, 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 ding.
Yeah, John Anthony. Yeah.
And now, what do you miss most about radio, though? Because what I'm trying to do is get the people who are listening in to get to know Mike Coolidge, the man.
Oh, sure. No, I miss, obviously, the listeners the most and that connection you have that you build over time where the listeners think they're friends with you, which they are, even though they haven't met you. I'm a lifelong radiophile, Rush Limbaugh for years, Dan and Amy for years, and I happen to know, Dan off the radio too. We did some work. I did some work for him years ago, but because I listen to the show every single morning, I feel like I know what's going on. I was just talking to Quinn before about his new baby.
Yes.
I know about that because I listen to the show. So that's something I miss is running into listeners and them saying and talking about something that I just talked about on the radio and us having an immediate conversation, that connection, that friendship. We still do podcasts and stuff for my work now, but it's not the same as radio. Radio is on, it's live, and it's such a deep connection you have with listeners. I do miss that.
Yeah, you and I, we knew of each other, but I didn't finally meet you until we were at CPAC, and I came to because you were on Radio Row.
Yes.
And I came
12 straight years.
Yeah, and I said, hey, hey, brother, I know you. You're from Illinois, Rockford area, somewhere over there. You said, yeah. And we started talking, and then you interviewed me that day. I don't know if you recall that.
I do. That was so much fun going to the biggest group of conservatives in the country every single year. And it's interesting. I started that in 2009 and did it all the way through 2021, CPAC, every year with the exception of one when I was running for Congress. And it's so amazing how much has changed.
Yeah.
Just on the right since 2009.
Yeah.
Not in the country. Obviously, the country at large has changed. But, I mean, the different factions 10 years ago, with the Ron Paul types, and then the Tea Party, and then Trump coming into our political world in 2015, 10 years ago, even though he was already a name.
Wow.
How much he changed the party as I stare at your awesome Trump hat, which you got on the golf outing on Wednesday, which I was at as well. That was a lot of fun. That was a ton of fun.
Yeah.
But it's amazing the evolution of the right, and I love it. I'm here for it, and I've never been happier as a conservative Republican in my life than what and where we're at right now as a movement. It's so awesome.
See, I wasn't initially on the Trump train. I was serving in Springfield at the time, and Rubio. I was on the Marco Rubio state leadership team for Illinois.
Yeah.
Myself, Senator Mike Connolly. He kind of roped me into that. But as I was, in Springfield, listening to a lot of the polls talk negatively, Republicans. These were Republicans. I mean, they were just trashing him, and I'm like, wait a minute now. Why would they be trashing this man? Because he came to Springfield and filled up that arena down there.
Yeah.
And, I mean, completely sold out. 10,000 plus people were in there.
This is in 2015?
This is in 2015. 2015.
Yeah.
And I'm listening to all these people trashing, and I'm like, then I'm hearing the left like completely trashing, and I'm like, wait a minute, something's up. I went and told Mike, I said, I think I'm leaving the Rubio leadership team. I told him I left the Rubio team, and it was and I talked to State Representative John Cabello, who was, because at the time Trump couldn't find many people to join his campaign. I don't know if you know that.
Oh yeah, no, Cabello was he stuck his neck out there pretty early.
He did. And
John.
Johnny and I, we were on a lot of committees together, and I said, listen, I think I want to come join the Trump team. And he's like, let's do it. He said, you better do it right away. And I said, well, why? He goes, because Trump's going to remember all those who were with him in the beginning. And I did it, and man, I was a delegate for Trump at the 2016 election. 2016 convention. And it was an awesome time, man, and I haven't walked away from it ever since. Even when I've had people, I've lost relationships with family, with friends, longtime friendships.
Oh yeah, we all have.
Yeah, my brother basically disassociated himself with me. I had cousins who said, "Man, we can't believe you're with this racist." These same cousins, 2 of them, in this last election, cut a commercial for Donald Trump.
That's brilliant.
Think about that.
I love it.
Think about that.
I mean that story has happened throughout the country in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
And my story is very similar, and it has a lot to do with my listeners. I would have these radio listener appreciation parties once or twice a year, and it's the summer of 2015, and here I am, Mr. Political Talk Show Smarty Pants, telling my listeners that Trump's not for real going to actually win the primary. Yeah. It's Rubio. I was a Rubio guy too.
Yeah.
And they educated me. I remember this one woman, she grabbed me by the shoulder. She's like, Mike, you don't get it. Trump gets us. He is for real. He's not a politician. So I had to be educated by my listeners. So I made a deal with them on the air. I'm like, look, if Trump wins the primary, I'm all in.
Yeah.
You totally have this, but you got it. But if it's Rubio or Cruz, those are the 2 I was going back and forth about. I'm like, you guys got to back him, will you? They're like, yeah, absolutely. But they're not going to win. It's going to be Trump. And they were right, and I was wrong.
Yeah.
And it was Trump.
And
then, of course, he won.
He did. And I don't think he thought he would win.
No. I read a story that said early on, he thought he had a 10% chance of winning the presidency.
Wow.
10%. And, of course, yeah.
Yeah. I right now, a lot of people are projecting J.D. Vance is going to be the presumptive nominee of 2028. I don't think so.
Really?
I think it's Marco Rubio right now. I think Marco Rubio is leading that charge right now. When you look at, I like J.D. Vance, but I think sometimes he plays it a little too safe. Rubio's not playing it safe anymore. I think picking up these bona fides of being Secretary of State and running basically USAID, and then he was just Trump appointed him National Security Council.
Yeah, he's doing 2 jobs right now. He's the National Security Advisor, and he's the Secretary of State,
telling you,
the highest position outside of the Department of Defense chief, really, and Vice President in our government.
Yeah.
No, it's interesting when Trump was asked a couple of weeks ago about 2028. He only mentioned 2 names, Rubio and Vance.
Yeah.
So I don't think even he is committed to one of those 2. And he might be like, may the best man win.
Yeah.
I am, if you had a gun in my head and I had to pick one, I'd probably choose Vance.
Yeah.
I just think he's so intriguing, so smart. I love Rubio, though, too. And Rubio has also had this evolution and has shown, because he and Trump batted each other and, little Marco and all that, in 2016. But he's a super sharp guy.
Yeah.
And Florida, obviously he and Trump, same state. Vance is just so intriguing. And I know his sons, Donald Trump Jr., love Vance.
They love him. Well,
they're the reason he got him. Yeah. So, it could not be a Rubio Vance ticket, obviously, because he's already vice president.
Right.
I could see a Vance Rubio ticket.
Or, don't forget our guy down in the Gator country, Ron DeSantis.
Ron DeSantis, can't rule him out.
DeSantis. Or DeSantis Vance.
It would have to be Vance DeSantis, probably. Yeah. I don't think he can be ruled out. I know there's probably still lingering bad blood between he and Trump. But, people say, 2028, it's so far away. We're halfway through 2025 already. The March 17th primary in Illinois is going to be here before we know it.
Yeah.
And then it's the midterms and game on.
I was looking for this audio that I played on my Detroit's Morning Answer show, but I can't find it. There's Florida's Governor Ron DeSantis talking about one of the policies that they have, that if your vehicle is surrounded and by a mob, you have every right to run them over. I think that should be the law in every single municipality, every state in this union, every city, every township, whatever, wherever you live. That should be the law. And for him to say that publicly.
Yeah. No, you see these videos on TikTok and on X of these idiot miscreants standing in front of a vehicle. And most of the time, the vehicle is just trying to go, it's some civilian just trying to go about their business. Or if it's sometimes an ICE vehicle, whatever. If you stand in front of a vehicle, you should expect that you're going to get run over. You just standing in front of them doesn't stop them. Yeah, absolutely. And you see some of them, too. You could just look them up on X. The ones that do stop, people punch their windows in and stuff. So, yes.
Drag them out of the vehicle.
You don't have to step on the gas to the floor, but a nice 5 mile an hour, 10 mile an hour thing, you're not going to kill someone. You're just going to make them second guess about standing in front of a vehicle again. Maybe a broken ankle or something. That might be the price they pay.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it just recently happened in Chicago. I don't know if you saw this little maroon vehicle. They were being surrounded, and they just drove right through. And then another person, they were a truck carrying a hitch, rolled right over the person.
They will quickly learn their lesson the more often that happens.
I agree. And you know what? As they should. You listen to Chicago's Morning Answer. I'm John Anthony. He's Mike Coolidge. Go to break, right?
Listen to podcast of Dan and Amy from the AM 560 mobile app. Download it today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
Is it time to get your children and grandchildren out of the godless government schools? You cannot allow your loved ones to be forcibly subjected to ungodly psychological examinations and perverse sexual teachings. You would not send your child to a school that teaches 2 + 2 is 5. What is being taught today is far worse and damaging to minds and hearts. We can help through our on-campus Christian school and homeschool program. For over 55 years, Christian Liberty has operated a Christian school now located in Arlington Heights, and we have served hundreds of thousands of families across our nation and foreign countries through our homeschool program, Christian Liberty Homeschools. Visit ChristianLiberty.com to learn more or to schedule a tour of our excellent 12-acre facility in Arlington Heights and learn about our educational programs. Take action today. Visit ChristianLiberty.com. Experience the best in our on-campus Christian school and homeschool program and get more information at ChristianLiberty.com.
For centuries, gold and silver have protected wealth through war, recession, inflation, and economic upheaval. And today, as markets remain volatile and uncertainty grows, gold and silver continue to serve as an essential building block for modern retirement portfolios, offering both stability and long-term potential. At Advantage Gold, we specialize in helping you move your IRA or eligible 401k into physical gold or silver, tax-free and penalty-free. When you call Advantage Gold at 800-900-8000, you'll receive expert insights, real-time market analysis, and modern investment strategies. Everything you need to make informed decisions about your financial future. And right now, for a limited time, you could receive up to $10,000 in precious metals when you open your qualified gold IRA with Advantage Gold. So don't wait for the next market downturn. Take control of your retirement strategy today with the proven power of physical gold and silver. Call Advantage Gold at 800-900-8000. That's 800-900-8000. Performance may vary. Consult with your financial and tax professionals before making investment decisions. Visit AdvantageGold.com or call 800-900-8000. AM
560, The Answer.
Welcome back to Chicago's Morning Answer. I'm John Anthony. He's Mike Coolidge. Mike, we're going to have a great day today. We're going to have my good friend Michael Letts coming on. We're going to talk about the FBI hiding all these things that they've been hiding from us, the people. I cannot wait. We're going to also talk about, we're going to have just a heck of a show. You ready?
I'm here for it.
Buckle up, brother. Now onto the newsroom with Nikki Whaley.
Good morning. It's 67 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. The White House says sanctuary cities will be increasingly targeted by ICE.
Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said President Trump is securing the homeland, noting not a single illegal alien was released into the U.S. last month.
According to newly released numbers, last month, Border Patrol saw a 93% decrease of illegal aliens crossing the southwest border between ports of entry from May 2024 under Joe Biden, when they encountered more than 117,000 illegal aliens.
She added Homeland Security is ramping up efforts to arrest and deport the millions of illegal aliens that former President Biden let in. There were initial anti-ICE protests in Los Angeles when the immigration operations began, but they have since died down. I'm Mark Mayfield.
A federal judge is blocking President Trump from tying states' transportation funding to immigration enforcement.
The judge in Providence, Rhode Island, granted a request from 20 Democratic-led states to bar the administration from implementing the policy. The plan would force the states to cooperate with immigration authorities in order to get billions in transportation grant funding. The states argued the plan is unlawful and the U.S. Transportation Secretary lacks the authority to impose such conditions on funding. In the injunction, the judge said the states were likely to succeed on the merits of their claims. I'm Chris Coraggio.
This report is sponsored by Discover. Guess what? Discover's accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide. You heard right, 99%. If you don't think so, maybe it's time to face facts you're stuck in the past. Based on the February 2024 Nielsen report, learn more at discover.com/credit card. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now check your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Your home is a valuable asset, and you want to take care of your home. From roofs, siding, windows, and doors to furnaces, flooring, landscaping, and much more. Listen to your go-to for all things home. It's Home Answers Radio every Sunday morning at 9. Presented by Lang Home Medical Equipment, Valdecast Windows and Doors, and by JeffBuysYourHouse.com. Get answers from industry experts so you can make informed decisions about your home improvement. Right here on AM 560, The Answer.
The national debt is soaring and the dollar is weakening. Rising deficits, inflation, and market instability are creating a perfect storm of economic uncertainty. Public figures that were once allies are clashing in the headlines, leaving Americans everywhere asking what's next. In unpredictable times, more people are turning to physical gold and silver as a way to safeguard their savings in retirement. At Advantage Gold, we help you move your IRA or eligible 401k into physical precious metals, tax-free and penalty-free. It's a simple, secure, and proven method to preserving your capital. When you call 800-900-8000, you'll receive a free gold guide packed with real-world strategies to help protect your investment. Plus, for a limited time, you could receive up to $10,000 in precious metals when you open up your qualified gold IRA with Advantage Gold. So don't wait for the next crash or crisis. Take control of your financial future today with Advantage Gold. Call 800-900-8000 or visit AdvantageGold.com. That's 800-900-8000. Performance may vary. Consult with your financial and tax professionals before making investment decisions. Call 800-900-8000.
As you know, our friend Mike Lindell has a passion to help everyone get the best sleep of your life. He didn't stop by simply creating the best pillow. Mike created the best bed sheets ever. They look and feel great, which means an even better night's sleep for me, which is crucial for my busy schedule. Mike is offering the best deal on his Giza Dreams bed sheets. Any size and any color, just $49.98. That's right, you can even get queens, kings, split kings, and cow kings. Any size and any color, just $49.98. Order now because when they're gone, they're gone. Also, for a limited time, when your order is over $100, you'll receive $100 in free digital gifts. Call 800-489-0201. Use promo code LIBERTY or go to mypillow.com. Make sure you use the promo code LIBERTY for the amazing offer of $49.98 on the Giza Dreams sheets, any size and any color. That number again is 800-489-0201. Promo code LIBERTY.
Protect your liver and give it the support that it deserves with Active Liver from New Nordic. Find it in stores at your local CVS, Meijer Grocery, or Amazon, or NewNordicUSA.com.
Now, your official weather forecast.
For today, we've got sun and clouds with a couple of brief midday showers. It'll be warm and breezy this afternoon with a high up to 86. Partly cloudy, warm and humid tonight with a low 73. Mostly sunny, windy tomorrow with a high 97. I'm Ruth O'Brien on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Welcome back to Chicago's Morning Answer with John Anthony and Mike Coolidge. Mike, Jasmine Crockett is back at it again. I mean, I really do hope that she continues to stay the face of the Democrat Party.
Yes.
You made a quip during the break that what was your quip about her and AOC?
If somebody said it on a different network this morning on my drive in that every time she speaks, she makes AOC seem smarter, and that might be their strategy, which isn't that dumb.
Yeah. Well, it's dumber than a box of rocks. But here she is on MAGA and mental health.
Yes.
This idea that we don't care how many people get hurt, we don't care how we prostitute our service members, thinking that you have your own special little army that's for you. I mean, it is sick. It is really sick. And anybody that supports it is also sick. And so, we've got a mental health crisis in this country because everyone, no matter how you affiliate yourself, should be against Trump, period. This is not partisan for me. Like, I would give anything to have, it's sad to say, George Bush. Give me any regular Republican nowadays and I would be happy. But right now we have someone who does not care, and he is being enabled by the fact that there are, people that follow him and they pump him up, as well as the people that are surrounding him. And so, my heart breaks for service members, people that signed up to protect democracy and freedom, not only here, but abroad, and were willing to risk their lives. And now, literally, the very thing that they signed up to fight against is now their commander-in-chief.
Wow.
It really breaks my heart. And I don't know how far he has to go before we can come together and just say, enough is enough. Like, this should not be partisanship.
312-642-5600. 312-642-5600. You can also text us on our turnkey.pro answer line. Mike?
You know what's always interesting when you hear people like her talk? There's never a specific thing that Trump is doing or an act that he just made. It's this old, tired playbook, and even saying that I know is a cliche, but it's true. It's this old chapter of politics that is no longer relevant. Trump turned the page, to use the Waltz phrase, from that whole era of what are our What sort of stickies can we put on the board? Let's call him a fascist. Let's associate him with Hitler. Yeah. Let's say that his supporters are mentally ill. Will that work? Is there some acronym we can make up from things that say, taco, wait a second, let's do something with tacos. Let's do this stupid videos where we're video game participants. Like, they're trying all of these things because maybe this worked in a bygone era. It doesn't anymore.
It doesn't.
And they're still playing, again, they're playing checkers, Trump's playing chess, and keep it going. Keep at it, Democrats. I love it.
Yeah, but did you hear what she said? She would rather have a regular Republican. And who did she tie the regular Republican to? George W. Bush. George W. Bush wasn't a fighter. See, what they want is, you talked about it. They want to go back to that old Republican playbook that they use on Republicans every single time. And what happens to the Republican? They cower. They cower to the corner.
Bush did not fight back. You're right.
Name the last Republican true fighter we had was Ronald Reagan prior to Donald Trump getting in office.
And talk about a different era. He would go past the media and go directly to the people.
Yes.
And criticize the left and the Democrats for it. Yeah, and that was, obviously a whole different era with how communication was and how broadcasting was. But if you even remember, I mean, I'm not going to defend George W. Bush and politically, because he did not fight back like Trump did. However, if you go back 20 years to the Bush era, they called him Hitler and everything else too. There were. I lived in Chicago at the time, and I would walk down the street, and there would be these artsy, cool, edgy images on the sidewalk of him with the Hitler mustache. Bush. They called him the worst of the world. He was an idiot dolt, but also a mastermind fascist. they said the same thing about Mitt Romney, you know. So Jasmine Crockett is full of baloney
I agree.
to say that, she wants a normal Republican. No. She knows that all the Democrats are completely inept. Well, no, she doesn't know that they're inept. She doesn't have the intelligence to know how dumb their stuff is, you know? The only people on the left who do understand are like James Carville, who understand how completely off they are. Bill Maher. Yeah. They realize how much they're screwing it up, the Democrats. But people like her, AOC, they're clueless.
But I also think they believe TDS is so strong that anytime you mention President Donald Trump, they score political points. What they don't realize, they don't. But they're not winning that fight. They're not winning that battle. Especially, you know how you know they're not winning that fight, or they didn't win that fight or that battle? President Trump had 77 million votes and won the popular vote in this country. He didn't just win the Electoral College. He won the popular vote. That speaks to who he is persona, who he is as an elected official. And this is why I believe the America First agenda is way more important than Donald Trump. And if we have to find people like we spoke earlier, J.D. Vance, Marco Rubio, Ron DeSantis, who can articulate that message to keep this train moving. Because if we don't, Mike, I feel for what's coming.
Yeah. And again, you're right. We cannot get complacent. We cannot just assume. And Dan and Amy talk about this all the time. That, all right, we can't just throw up our stakes and say, Trump won. That's it. Work's over, right?
Yeah.
No, he's not running for re-election.
Yeah.
The next era of politics is right around the corner. And if we don't have people being able to articulate the conservative vision like
of
Vance,
America First.
Yes. We are going to lose again.
Yeah.
And also, just it's not at the top. It's not just all about the top. We got to field good gubernatorial candidates. We got to field good U.S. Senate candidates, congressional candidates, state rep, state Senate candidates. Local school board members need to step up and run for office. All of that.
Yeah.
So, the work has only just begun. And, we should thank Trump for at least allowing us this opportunity to continue this mission, because I do have a question I was going to throw at you later, and I'm sure our listeners will want to weigh in on this too. Which do you think would have been worse, John? We don't have to answer it right now, but which do you think would have been worse? If Hillary had won in 2016 or if Kamala had won in 2024? Which would have been worse? Stew on that a little bit. It's early in the morning.
I hate you.
Stew on that a little bit. Which would be worse?
I hate you.
Kamala win or a Hillary win? Think about it.
Let's go to the phone lines. You know what? Let's pose that to the people. 312-642-5600. 312-642-5600. You can also text us on our turnkey.pro answer line. Kip sounds like he's a big fan of yours, brother.
Me?
Kip, welcome to Chicago's Morning Answer.
Yeah, good morning there, Anthony, and hey, Mike Coolidge with the K.
That's how you spell it.
That's right. I remember 1440 on the radio there, and then I think he went south in Illinois. 1530 was it?
Yeah, there were a bunch of different stations. I was actually regionally syndicated, but none of my shows were better than Chicago's Morning Answer, Dan and Amy.
Right on. I agree.
None of them.
Let me get to it here. Scott Walker, you guys have been missing. Who was forged in fire before Trump was Scott Walker?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's a good point.
I mean,
Lee Daniels.
I was looking at Walker and Ben Carson for vice president, you know. But then
Who?
Scott
Ben
Walker's
Carson.
Walker was a really good politician. I remember when all the legislature ran away and went to the Clock Tower Inn, which is
in Rockford. Yeah.
Yep. Hard Rock Cafe.
We call them the
now.
flea baggers. Yes. They're a bunch of Democrats who didn't want to vote to keep their government open in Wisconsin during the Walker era. So they came to Rockford, my neck of the woods. And that was nuts. You're right. But Scott Walker was a very adept politician. He won 3 times because remember they tried to recall him.
Yeah, the first one with lawfare. Come on. I mean, he was forged in fire, but he's smart enough to get out when he did. I think it was the first debate. Because Donald Trump, just with his awe, you know, everybody when he goes into the room, everybody goes, what's he talking about?
I can't believe that was 10 years ago.
Yeah, I still can't believe it was 10 years ago.
Yeah. Summer of 2015. That's when it all started.
Let's go to Lewis from Brenham, Texas. Lewis, welcome to Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hey, good morning, guys. Well, I just wanted to first say that, I served in the Marine Corps for 10 years, and, her comments about the military, she's absolutely right. We took an oath to serve and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And that's what President Trump sent the Marines out there to do. I served in the Marine Corps at Camp Pendleton. When I look at the L.A. riots and what happened, to me, it looked like a foreign war zone. Those people weren't peaceful protesting. They were destroying. They were terrorizing the local neighborhoods, their own people within the neighborhood. So, Trump did the right thing by sending the Marines there to quell all this destruction and stuff like that. And, as far as her saying that, well, he doesn't have the authority to do this or that, what people don't realize is in order to to go to war, you need to act of Congress. Well, that's true if you're doing it in the Army, the Navy, or the Air Force, but the Marines do not need that. We are the president's own. And she said, his own personal army. We are the president's own army. If he wants to send us anywhere at 3 o'clock in the morning, that's where we're going to go.
Hey, Lewis, I'm curious because you've also heard a lot of people talk about the whole parade, the show of military might. From what I've been told by my friends, they absolutely loved us showing off the greatness of American military might. How did you view that?
The funny part about that is in the Marine Corps, at least on the Marine Corps side, I can only speak, but we have those parades every year on the base, and the civilians and their family are there. They show off the tanks. They show off the old uniforms. When I saw it, it kind of, to me, it was like, okay, we do the same thing in the Marine Corps. It wasn't a big deal. I think Trump wanted to show how proud he was of the Army and their 250th birthday, which was a big deal. I don't think it was nothing more than showing respect to the military. I think he wanted to put them on the pedestal, to be honest, but because everybody out there hates Trump, I think they used it in a different political way. I think he was trying to say thank you to them and to put them on the higher pedestal.
I agree, and I got in a big Facebook debate with a Marine Corps buddy of mine. I'm an Army vet. Thanks for your service, my friend. The Air and Water Show in Chicago is a great recruiting mechanism for people to join the Air Force and the Navy, right? Well, the Army never gets to do that because we're a land, operation, tanks and Humvees and whatnot, and that was about the United States Army that day. It happened to fall on the president's birthday. That was a coincidence, but it was awesome. I loved it, and I guarantee you, there's thousands of young men who decided to join after watching that stuff, and women probably too.
You know what, Mike? You just gave me a thought that never entered his head. That's a huge military recruitment, Navy recruitment, as with the Air and Water Show, and that happens all over the country.
Totally, and that's fun. I lived in Chicago for half a decade or over half a decade. I went to the Air and Water Show. It's great. People don't complain about that, and say, some people say, hey, yeah, it's the military-industrial complex, whatever. Which there's some merit to that argument for sure, but people whined about $45 million about that parade. It was probably $100 to $500 million in free ad and PR for that whole operation. And it was respectful. It was wholesome. It was about the United States Army. It was appreciative. And again, I guarantee you it served as a recruiting mechanism.
And with the Army recruiting numbers lagging, what a amazing way to start recruiting people into the Army.
I hope they do it again next year. I think it should turn into a tradition. June 14th every year. Thank you. The largest branch of the United States military, the United States Army. I know Jeannie Ives agrees with me on that. She's an Army vet as well.
Yes, she is. Let's go back to the phone lines. Marvin from Burlington, Wisconsin.
Good morning. I think the Jasmine Crockett and AOC, they're a problem, yes, but I don't think they're as dangerous as someone like Ilhan Omar. Ilhan Omar and people of her ilk, they hate America, and I don't quite understand how she can even be allowed to participate in the Congress as someone who holds her views. And what's dangerous is to me, she gets enough people in her district to actually put her into office. I mean, what are they teaching those people up there in Minnesota? I mean, her latest publicized statements are really off the charts. I mean, they're treasonous. you talk about Ronald Reagan's times. Even just a little bit before Ronald Reagan, she would have been ejected from the Congress. I really think her ilk and her type is what we really need to be afraid of.
It shows you it shows you the dangers of extreme gerrymandering, which of course we have in the state of Illinois as well. When the Democrats control the maps, and even if they don't, they have these. She'll never not get reelected unless a Democrat runs against her. It is, she wins by 30, 40% or something crazy like that.
Easy.
Because the Democrat district that she runs it is like D plus 35 or something. It's nuts. So that's what happens when you have these extremely partisan districts that are cut. So unfortunately, we got to put up with people like her. And the best we could do is make sure that she is severely outnumbered.
Did you hear what she said?
I don't know what specific one.
To be coming out of our country. I mean, I grew up in a dictatorship. And I don't even remember ever witnessing anything like that. To have a democracy, a beacon of hope for the world to now be turned into one of the worst countries where the military are in our streets without any regard for people's constitutional rights, while our president is spending millions of dollars propping himself up like a failed dictator with a military parade. It is really shocking, and it should be a wake-up call for all Americans to say this is not the country we were born in. This is not the country we believe in. This is not the country our founding fathers imagined, and this is not the country that is supported by our Constitution, our ideals, our values. And we should all collectively be out in the streets rejecting what is taking place this week.
Enough said. Chicago's Morning Answer.
There's only one radio show in Chicago talking about today's biggest stories and telling you what they really mean. That show is this one, Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer. Sign up for the AM 560 Answer Advantage to get early alerts on event ticket sales, special discounts, and contest opportunities. Sign up today at 560theanswer.com/advantage.
Attention! If you owe money to the IRS, this is an urgent message. The IRS is cracking down by sending out collection letters, garnishing paychecks, seizing bank accounts, and putting liens on homes and businesses. They call it enforced compliance, and you better watch out because penalties and interest on unpaid taxes compound daily, making it even harder to get out of debt. Don't let tax debt destroy your life. You need to call Optima Tax Relief, America's #1 tax resolution firm. They're experts in taxpayer assistance programs that can save you thousands if you qualify. A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau, Optima's resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. Let them fight on your behalf, helping to put your tax problems to rest. Call the tax professionals at Optima now for a free consultation.
Call 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Business owners, now's the time for your business to make the move to a locally owned business bank. Hi, Mike Gallagher here to let you know that you don't have to look far. Signature Bank was founded in Chicago with a simple mission to help companies like yours grow, succeed, and thrive. Their decisions are made locally by a terrific team that knows your name, cares about your business, and invests in your success. That's why Signature Bank is my bank. I'm a customer. As business owners, they knew that local family-owned businesses were not getting the help they needed or deserved. So I invite you to reach out to my friends at Signature Bank today. Write the number down. Remember this phone number, Signature Bank, 773-467-5630, and learn all about this great bank, 773-467-5630, or visit them online at signaturebank.bank. That's signaturebank.bank. Signature Bank makes commercial banking personal. Member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Honey, I can't deal with this kitchen anymore. It's cramped and everything is outdated.
I know, but it makes no sense to move. I could call my contractor buddy Chad.
Babe, you've seen Chad's house, right?
Yeah, good point.
Plus, he showed up late for his own wedding. Let's get someone who's reliable.
How about Forever Remodeling? They have a team of interior designers, master installers, and project managers all under one roof.
Their reviews on Google look amazing, and homeowners post a ton of pictures of their work.
It looks like they even offer 3D rendering of their projects.
Just like my TV design shows.
Exactly.
Plus, AM 560 listeners get a free in-home design consultation.
From kitchens to bathrooms, basements to whole homes, the design build team at Forever Remodeling takes the stress out of remodeling. They're done on time and guaranteed to match your vision. Visit them online at foreverremodeling.com. That's the number 4everremodeling.com. Forever Remodeling, stress-free and high-quality remodeling.
Your business is under attack 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's a fact. Small businesses are the low-hanging fruit. You may think you're protected, but you're vulnerable in many ways, and cyber attackers actively prey on small businesses. But Turnkey can protect you. Turnkey is the key to cyber protection. Turnkey has a quick and efficient 12-point evaluation to determine if your business, your profits, are at risk. And right now, for a limited time, Turnkey is offering the first month of service to all new customers free. Peace of mind, free. It includes all Microsoft licensing, antivirus, anti-malware, and completed data backup both on-site and off-site, plus help desk support. Don't leave you, your employees, and your customers vulnerable. Talk to Turnkey. Visit turnkey.pro. 3 decades of experience. That's turnkey.pro. Turnkey, the champion of small business.
Gain insight into building strong marriages and raising godly children with Focus on the Family with Jim Daly each weekday at 11:30 a.m. on our sister station, AM 1160. Hope for your life. News, opinion, insight. This is AM 560, The Answer. WIND, Chicago. Streaming at 560theanswer.com on the AM 560 mobile app, or tell your smart speaker to play The Answer Chicago.
Another missile from Iran gets through Israel's Iron Dome defense. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. Those are the fire trucks rushing to the scene to battle the flames in an industrial area that was hit.
There were no reports of injuries. Again, Beersheba is the same town where yesterday a missile hit the Soroka hospital, resulting in dozens of minor injuries, some of them serious.
Fox's Mike Tobin in Tel Aviv as Israeli warplanes keep targeting Iran's nuclear and missile facilities.
The Director General of the International Atomic Energy Agency tells me in an exclusive interview, Iran does have enough uranium for several nuclear bombs, and the regime is just a quick step away from enriching to weapons-grade uranium. However, he said he saw no plans for Iran to take that step. And he believes even at this stage, diplomacy is the path to prevent Iran from acquiring a nuclear weapon.
President Trump says he'll decide within 2 weeks whether the U.S. will help Israel take out Iran's nuclear program. A second flight of Americans stuck in Israel during this Iran conflict landed in Florida this morning, chartered by Governor Ron DeSantis, who says it hasn't been easy.
Given that the airport's totally shut down, given that the neighboring areas aren't exactly easy to navigate.
The National Guard troops President Trump deployed to Los Angeles to deal with the protest against his illegal immigration raids can stay there. A federal appeals court upheld his authority, and the president hailed the ruling on Truth Social late last night.
Big win on the president's core power to call in the National Guard. If our cities and our people need protection, we are the ones to give it to them. Should state and local police be unable, for whatever reason, to get the job done. And Governor Newsom had this to say, quote, "The president is not a king and is not above the law. We will press forward with our challenge to President Trump's authoritarian use of U.S. military soldiers against citizens."
Fox's Chanley Painter. Millions of Americans will be hot today. There are heat warnings or advisories. Colorado to Louisiana up to New Jersey with triple-digit temperatures forecast in some areas. America's listening to Fox News.
Good morning. It's 67 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. A group of Chicago City Council members are calling on CTA officials to enforce a smoking ban. Perry Williams reports.
34th Ward Alderman Bill Conway introduced a resolution that would pressure the local transportation agency to address rude riders. This respiratory health advocate had this to say.
To be clear, it's against the law to smoke and vape on the CTA. When people ignore the law and smoke, they are putting at risk the health of Chicagoans, but particularly those living with asthma and a host of other lung diseases.
CTA officials contend that they have issued more than 6,300 citations for smoking in 2023.
Mayor Johnson's national search for the new head of the Chicago Transit Authority's under scrutiny. The Chicago Tribune says reports show that the mayor never initiated a search. The CTA's been without a leader since former President Dorval Carter resigned earlier this year. In response, the mayor's office says they've looked at candidates who are currently leaders of mass transit agencies. The Johnson administration says it reached out to 3 leaders of agencies across the nation, but none of them were interested in doing a formal interview. The Tribune also reported that State Representative Cam Buckner was offered the job but turned it down. 20 full-time staff members at Columbia College Chicago were laid off. The downtown art school announced this week the move was made as part of planned cuts to academic programs. Columbia College is faced with a $38 million budget deficit. News is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Overpaying for dental implants is over. If you have a Blue Cross Blue Shield, PPO, or FEP, you could save 90% off on average to get your smile back. Learn more and check if you qualify at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. A check of the road's coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Hugh Hewitt talks tariffs.
Now, I think the best argument for the 10% global tariff is that the United States, in effect, guarantees freedoms of the sea and international law to the extent that it is everywhere applied. We do the most of the heavy lift. We keep the peace. We're the marshal. And it's very expensive and no one sends us a check.
The Hugh Hewitt Show. Afternoons at 2, right before Sean Thompson at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
When you're hiring, have you ever felt like you're missing out on meeting truly great candidates for your roles? It seems impossible to find them. They have to be out there somewhere, right? Well, they're not hard to find when you know where to go. And that place is ZipRecruiter. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day. And because these people are actively looking for jobs just like yours, it's easy to find the right person right away. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. But if you're not using ZipRecruiter, you're missing out. So see what it's like when the impossible is easy. When you go to ZipRecruiter.com/free right now to try ZipRecruiter for free. Once again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free. Never miss out on great candidates with ZipRecruiter.
Hi, I'm Ken Mariotti, owner of Woodland Windows and Doors, a third-generation family-owned business since 1969. We know you're bombarded by choices when shopping for new windows or doors, so we're inviting you to experience the Woodland difference. For decades, we have been transforming living spaces with Marvin Windows, a fifth-generation family business. Marvin replacement windows have been known to increase the warmth of your cold rooms by 10 degrees. Think about that, 10 degrees warmer. When you welcome Woodland into your home, you will get a product expert to transform your living spaces, full-time, dedicated professional installers that you can trust in your home, along with the best products like Marvin. These are the reasons we're proud of our 5-star reviews and family legacy. No gimmicks, no pressure, and upfront pricing are why Woodland Windows and Doors is your trusted window and door expert in Chicagoland. Visit woodlandwindows.com to book your free in-home expert consultation. That's woodlandwindows.com, or stop by our showroom at the corner of Lake and Geary in Roselle.
From the Team Hawkburg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 14 minutes both directions. On the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Byrne Interchange, 11 minutes outbound, about 13 minutes. On the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 13 minutes outbound, about 14 minutes. On the Stevenson inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, 18 minutes outbound, about 15 minutes. On the Dan Ryan inbound from 95th to the Byrne Interchange, 13 minutes outbound, about 11 minutes. Traffic is a service of Fox Valley Coins in Naperville. Easy to get off the I-88 on Route 59 in Naperville. Family-owned, integrity since 1981. FoxValleyCoins.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check your forecast from the National Weather Service.
For today, we've got sun and clouds with a couple of brief midday showers. It'll be warm and breezy this afternoon with high up to 86. Partly cloudy, warm and humid tonight with low 73. Mostly sunny, windy tomorrow with a high 97. I'm Ruth O'Brien on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is sponsored by TJ Stearns Financial Planning. Certified financial planner Tim Stearns holds a weekly discussion of the financial challenges to secure retirement. Listen Saturday at noon for Protect and Grow with Tim Stearns.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Good morning. The Morning Answer. I almost said Chicago. See, Mike, I'm just a buffoon when it comes to this
Creatures
stuff.
of habit.
Mike, I want to first of all thank you for coming in. That first hour flew by. I appreciate you. I appreciate your professionalism. You make me sound good. You make me make people think that I'm smart. So I appreciate that.
We have to be careful. As I told Dan on Wednesday at the golf outing, I ran into him quickly. Dan Proft, of course, of Chicago's Morning Answer, Dan and Amy, greatest show on the radio.
Yeah.
I said, Dan, I think he said something like, don't get too comfortable. Make sure you sit in Amy's seat, not mine. And then I said, Dan, the worse we do on Friday, the better you and Amy look.
That's true. And guess what? That's not hard to do. So, Dan is one of the best radio hosts in America right now.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
And intellects.
Yeah.
And
let's not shy Amy. Amy is a great
I love
co-host.
their dynamic.
Yeah.
I love all the stories she has about her time on the, in the TV world and who she dated and talking about her sons. I love Amy.
Well, we also want to welcome in the Detroit Morning Answer listening crowd, 92.7 and AM 1400, The Answer as well, Mike. I've been doing this now for 6 months, and it's been an amazing time. I actually I interviewed the imam of Dearborn yesterday.
Yes.
It was a very intense interview. It was tough in some regards, but I wanted to talk about, because I wanted to bring somebody on to talk about. I don't know if you heard the story about the Chuck Grassley getting a memo from Kash Patel talking about China and what they were doing, and that this investigation was hidden. I want to know who hid it. I want to know why didn't we know about it? And I want to play this really quickly, because I think he completely lied while he was being interviewed during right after the 2020 elections. FBI Director Chris Wray. Listen to what he said about the 2020 election then.
So given the COVID-19 pandemic, we're seeing many more people vote by mail. As I mentioned, unprecedented numbers of absentee ballots have been asked for in the state of Michigan. So I want to dispel some of this drumbeat of misinformation that we're hearing out there. And so my question is very direct. Is voting by mail secure?
Well, Senator, I think what I would say is this. We take all election-related threats seriously, whether it's voter fraud, voter suppression, whether it's in person, whether it's by mail, and our role is to investigate the threat actors. Now, we have not seen historically any kind of coordinated national voter fraud effort in a major election, whether it's by mail or otherwise. We have seen voter fraud at the local level from time.
Michael Coolidge, did that sound like a lot of you?
The head of the FBI, Chris Wray at the time, is a lawyer by trade, and I think he's extremely careful and knows that if he perjures himself, he is putting himself in legal jeopardy. And so, I think that was a really smartly crafted way he answered that legally. Yeah. As far as truth goes, that was a very odd way of phrasing what he did.
We see nothing, though. Joining us to discuss this and more is my good friend, Michael Letts. He's the founder and CEO of Invest USA. It's an organization that provides bulletproof vests to law enforcement officers across America. He's also a pastor as well. Michael, what's up, my brother? Welcome to The Morning Answer.
Always a privilege you're with your job, and thank you so much. You and Michael doing a fantastic job, and that was a very crafty way of denying the truth. You knew good and well exactly what the investigations were. That's why we have the evidence of it.
Yeah.
You know, he just didn't deny it here. He's denied on other issues, main issues as well. Bottom line was this. They were determined to make sure they kept with who they wanted in office, and it wasn't Trump. They did whatever was necessary to get that accomplished, and then covered their tracks. But now it's coming out, isn't it?
It's coming out, and it's coming out in droves. Even John Solomon, he had this to say about what's going on with China, Michael, and I want to get your take.
Tell the audience what Kash delivered last night and what the reality is here, because this is about as jaw-dropping as you can get, sir.
Yeah, let's set the stage. Let's remind everybody that in December of 2020, 60 Minutes aired a piece with the head of the Homeland Security Cybersecurity Division saying there were no foreign intrusions in the 2020 election. It was a perfectly clean election. He said, I think it was Chris Krebs was his name. We now know that to have been a false proclamation. First, we know a year later in 21, a bunch of Iranians were indicted in Manhattan on charges that they interfered in the election and hacked into a state database to obtain voter IDs and use them in a mal-influence operation against the American election. Now we know there was a second country that was more deeply involved in meddling into the election. The FBI in August 2020, so 3.5 months before the votes were cast that put Joe Biden in the presidency, that FBI believed that China had begun a mass operation to produce fake U.S. driver's licenses, move them to the United States, and have Chinese citizens here on our soil, both legally and illegally, go out and get fake mail-in ballots.
And they also targeted TikTokers to create the fake IDs. Michael, I thought we had Letts. I thought we had the most secure election in 2020. That's what we were told from time and time again. I actually lost my YouTube channel because I challenged this. Michael, how is that so?
Well, I will tell you this. It was part of a well-coordinated movement. It wasn't just the Bureau. It was almost every agency the government controls were trying to make sure that they got Joe Biden elected. And here's what's amazing is they actually flew in. We have the documentation that they brought in droves from China, already pre-filled out mail-in ballots and stuffed all the boxes.
You know,
amazing.
We can't let the media off the hook here during this time period, because do you remember, and it was a story, I think it was on 60 Minutes or some national story about in Illinois, where I happen to live, they had this whole thing about the voting rolls were looked at by some foreign agent. So they basically looked at the equivalent of a phone book for a couple of minutes. Can't do anything with that other than say this person voted and this person didn't vote, and it turned into a national story that the voting rolls were infiltrated. Whereas this thing that we're talking about with China and this investigation that it seems like they had lied about is actual.
Yeah, I think we just dropped him.
How did we drop him?
Yeah, I don't know. He was going to be down. But go ahead, finish them. He's listening.
This thing that we're talking about now with China is real alleged voter fraud. They're showing a way to cheat in elections, whereas the security breach at the election headquarters in Springfield was simply, if it happened, people looking at data, which is the same as looking at a phone book. So this is real. The other stuff was just overblown and pointless.
But once again, they told us we had the most. And I'll play it real quick. Chris Krebs, he actually said we had the. I can't get it. It won't let me bring it over. But it won't let me bring it over. But he actually said we had the most secure election in 2020. And if listen, man, this is why I'm afraid. I'm sickened by election season, Mike. We should get rid of election season. It should be election day. Only the people like our military people who can't be here to vote on election day. After election day, if the ballots are not in, unless it's military and people that have to travel for work, their vote shouldn't count. I'm not sorry about that.
Yeah, Michael, do you remember the voting? I think you're slightly older than us. This whole vote by mail thing and an election season, not election day thing, is relatively new, right? I mean, when you voted for the first time, what describe that voting process?
We are still
okay.
Yeah, that's fine. You know, I also wanted him to talk about, because hopefully we'll get him back. a lot of people are upset that Patel, Bondi, and Bongino haven't produced the goods yet. From people I've talked to, like Mike and others, they've been quiet for a reason. Because there's so much that has transpired.
They're building a case.
Yeah. And that's how investigations you have patience and you wanted to give them time to build the case, an airtight case. But in this world of give me now, microwave society I want it instant. Guys, if they don't build this case airtight, and from what I'm told from people like him and others that I talk to, they're doing the job. And this is why they've been so silent, because they're actually trying to get the job done.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of frustration, and I talk about it to my friends in the conservative world with Pam Bondi, and certain judges aren't being seated yet, and it seems like they're dragging their feet on a lot of things. But patience, patience is a virtue. Let's check in again a year from now.
Yeah.
And then if there's no big revelations that were revealed, then I think we can start saying, okay, guys, what's up? What are you guys doing?
I'll tell you who's dragging their feet. Mike Johnson, John Thune, the majority leader in the Senate and the Speaker of the House. A lot of these things that the judges are coming after Trump for, just make it law. Codify it into law. Because everything from having to bring the Maryland man back, why not just create law to just make it happen? They're afraid. We haven't had a true budget in this country since prior to George W. Bush occupying the office.
Yeah.
This continuing resolution thing, this has to stop. This is not how we should be functioning. I want the appropriation committees to get together and pass the appropriations out of the appropriations committee onto the House floor so that the budget can be complete. Mike, we have not done that.
No. I know what they would say. They would say, well, if we don't do it during the reconciliation process, we're going to get filibustered in the Senate by the Democrats, so we need 60 votes, and we're not going to get that. And that's I know that would be the response.
Yeah, but that's not governing. That's not governance. That's cowardness. You put these people on the record. Because I'm going to tell you one thing about one thing Mike Madigan understood. Get these people on the record so that we can now browbeat them over the head. That's what he did. I know when I was there, they put up a property tax cut bill 19 different times for us to vote no on it. And guess what happened? There was a mailer came out that said I voted against property tax cuts 19 different times. And everybody else that was in swing district, because I was in a swing district, everybody else that was in a swing district, that's what happens. So get them on the record.
Yeah.
Force a vote and get them on the record.
Yeah. And as Democrats continue, as we talked about last hour, to constantly take the 20 side of an 80-20 issue, getting them on the record with a lot of this stuff is going to be politically smart.
Yeah.
And they could do exactly what they did to you.
Yeah.
Their opponents can do to them.
Yeah, but that's the part that the Republican Party just hasn't gotten to that point yet. I mean, especially here in Illinois.
No, I know Michigan is a different animal, and it's a lot closer there. It's a lot. Heck, Michigan went for Trump, but then they elect statewide Democrats, kind of like Wisconsin. Michigan and Wisconsin, super similar. Don't understand in Wisconsin how they don't elect a Supreme Court justice, but.
Bless
Excuse me. Did I press the cough button at the appropriate time? I think so.
Yeah, I didn't hear it. It didn't come through my ears.
And then they elect Ron Johnson.
Yeah.
This great conservative Republican.
Yeah.
But that's the big thing is we need more Democrats in the Senate. Republicans in the Senate. Thank you.
We're actually going to talk to a Michigan House Rep, Joe Aragana. I'm telling you, I've had to say on the radio, I am not getting paid by the Speaker of the House of Michigan. I've had to say that because people have been saying, hey, how are you getting paid by it? No. What the team of House Republicans have done, because they make the Republicans have the House, the Democrats have the Senate by one seat, and then there's an open seat that the governor hasn't put forth a special election for. I saw Congressman John James call for that special election. Right now, the governor's out of the country, and the lieutenant governor could call it, and Congressman John James challenged him to call for a special election since he has control of the Michigan. But So the Michigan House Rep leadership team were in D.C. at the White House. I believe it was yesterday. So we're going to have a Michigan House Rep, Representative Joe Aragona, to come on and to talk to us about, what was some of the things, because they met with like 3 or 4 of the different cabinet secretaries. Michigan is on the rise. But, Mike, what if I told you their budget is 30 billion times more than the Illinois budget? Michigan has an that last fiscal year, they passed an $84 billion budget, but that's because they had the House, Senate, and the governor's mansion.
But they're not even remotely as big population-wise as Illinois.
They're close. Michigan is close. I think they're in the top 6, top 7 as it relates to population.
But bigger budget than Illinois.
$84 billion. And Illinois just passed the biggest, $55 billion. Think about that.
Does Michigan have a $140 billion pension shortfall?
Well, Detroit had that pension.
The bankruptcy, yeah.
And I recall that. The reason why I always remember that is because we were voting on the pension crisis in Illinois, and I voted yes on that bill. I got a lot of beef for voting yes on it, but I felt like we had to start somewhere. And I use the analogy that I knew, as a cop, when we made decisions, the Supreme Court decided if the decision we made was right or wrong.
Right, or whether it was constitutional or not.
And I wanted it to get to the Supreme Court because what the Supreme Court did, they did give us a pathway to say, well, this is what you can and can't do, because in Illinois, pensions are constitutionally protected.
Yes.
That shouldn't be.
No. I mean, that was when they opened up that Pandora's box and wrote that in. Madigan, I think, was part of that when they did that, and then they closed it back up again and said, "Yep, that's guaranteed." Ridiculous.
I'm still chewing on your question, though. I'm still chewing on that question. What was that question, Mike?
For those who didn't tune into the first hour of this radio program today, I asked this is almost like a dinner party question. Yeah. Which would have been worse if Hillary Clinton had won the presidency in 2016, or if Kamala Harris had won the presidency in 2024? And the caveats are this: Kamala Harris winning in 2024, yes, everything else before her is real. It happened. Trump got a one term, but now Kamala beat him. Let's say that. Or if Hillary had won in 2016 and the Trump presidency, at least the first term, never occurred, which would have been worse?
We're at the bottom of the. I got to speak in terms of Chicago time.
Yes,
8:30. We're gonna discuss that. I really want to. After we do the.
We may get some callers on that. I'm guessing. Yeah.
Because I think I'm leaning. I know Justin said Hillary. I think I'm leaning Kamala, because we wouldn't have uncovered all of the stuff that we uncovered with Trump winning in 2016. I think that was the. I think what President Trump was able to stop was more important. I don't know. Wait, I don't know. Now I'm thinking about it.
I'm telling you, it's a tough one. I have an answer, and then I started going through it, and then I said, wait, I might have to change it.
The morning answer. We'll be right back.
This is the morning show. More Chicago radio listeners are choosing. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Maha starts with Virago, making America healthy again. With the worst flu season in years, you need an immune system boost. The stronger your immune system, the stronger your body fights and defends against So get Virago. Virago Immune Enhancement Support is a unique blend of 23 nutraceuticals, ingredients that have been available as individual nutraceuticals, but now working in synergy to maximize their effects. Recommended by medical physicians, dentists, and other healthcare professionals, Virago is the nutraceutical cocktail for immune support. Developed to strengthen your immune system for quick response to immune challenges, for short and long-term immunity, antiviral, anti-inflammatory, antioxidant. It even protects your heart, kidneys, liver, all in a unique liquid supplement for better absorption. Order online at myvirago.com. That's myvirago.com. myvirago.com. Use coupon code IMMUNE to save 30%. Quality ingredients for optimum health. Maha. Making America healthy again starts with Virago.
Hey, Amy Jacobson here, and OMG, I was absolutely speechless when I saw my new garage floor. Level 10 Coatings did such an amazing job, and now my garage floor shines. Level 10 Coatings specializes in expert garage floor coatings for both residential and commercial spaces. Their floors are durable, easy to maintain, and best of all, done in just one day. Hey, if you've been thinking about upgrading your garage floor with that shiny new showroom look, please call my good friends at Level 10 Coatings at 855-510-2628 or book your free consultation online at level10coatings.com. And here's a bonus. Mention me, Amy Jacobson, and you'll get $500 off your project. Call 855-510-2628 or visit level10coatings.com today or call 855-510-2628.
Big or small, we coat them all. Level 10 Coatings, your custom concrete coating solution.
Patrick was way behind on his IRS taxes.
I was in way over my head. The total amount ended up being somewhere just over $30,000. $30,000.
Then the IRS came to collect.
Started getting letter after letter. A lien had been filed against me. They were going to basically hang me completely out to dry.
He had to do something.
That's when I reached out to Optima Tax Relief.
Patrick's life quickly got a lot easier.
It was very easy, pretty much hands off. They picked up the ball and ran with it.
And how'd it go?
I couldn't believe it. I had to ask 2 or 3 times. I saved an incredible amount of money.
How does Patrick feel about Optima?
Couldn't be happier. They definitely helped me. Optima Tax Relief, the best place to call. They're the best in the business.
Do what Patrick did and call Optima Tax Relief for a free consultation. Call 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433.
Optima Tax Relief.
Testimonial from an actual client. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Your business is under attack. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's a fact. Small businesses are the low-hanging fruit. You may think you're protected, but you're vulnerable in many ways. And cyber attackers actively prey on small businesses. But Turnkey can protect you. Turnkey is the key to cyber protection. Turnkey has a quick and efficient 12-point evaluation to determine if your business, your profits, are at risk. And right now, for a limited time, Turnkey is offering the first month of service to all new customers free. Peace of mind, free. It includes all Microsoft licensing, antivirus, anti-malware, and completed data backup both on-site and off-site, plus help desk support. Don't leave you, your employees, and your customers vulnerable. Talk to Turnkey. Visit turnkey.pro. 3 decades of experience. That's turnkey.pro. Turnkey, the champion of small business.
It's news, opinion, and insight at the speed of your life. Streaming at 560theanswer.com on the AM 560 mobile app, or tell your smart speaker to play The Answer Chicago.
Good morning. It's 67 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. A federal appeals court is ruling in favor of the Trump administration regarding the deployment of the California National Guard.
The Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals says the president is within his rights to deploy troops amid protests in Southern California over immigration raids. The ruling by the 3-judge panel allows nearly 4,000 National Guard troops to remain deployed in Los Angeles. Governor Newsom sued the president over his decision to deploy the California Guard. Last week, a federal judge agreed with Newsom and ruled that Trump's actions were illegal. I'm Tammy Trujillo.
The State Department says that foreign citizens who apply for student visas will have their social media accounts screened for hostility towards the U.S.
Under the new guidelines, anyone seeking an F, M, or J visa will have to make their social media profiles public or face rejection. The State Department says it's on the lookout for hostile comments towards the citizens, culture, government, institutions, or founding principles of the United States. It did not explain how hostility would be determined. There are more than 1.1 million foreign students studying in the U.S., and the increased scrutiny comes amid President Trump's efforts to rein in elite universities, which he believes are incubators of liberalism. Tony Waterman, Washington.
News is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Overpaying for dental implants is over. If you have a Blue Cross Blue Shield PPO or FEP, you could save 90% off on average to get your smile back. Learn more and check if you qualify at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Charlie Kirk believes ignorance is part of the problem.
He yelled, "Free Palestine." This is a pattern, and it's only continuing. What is driving this? Well, first of all, and this just needs to be said, the misunderstanding of what is actually happening between Israel and Hamas drives people to do insane stuff.
The Charlie Kirk Show, weekdays at 11, right before Hugh Hewitt at 2 on AM 560. The Answer.
Hi, it's Sean Thompson. You know, there's an old saying out there. Small hinges swing big doors. In other words, doing little things right can have a big result. Tom Fortino and the team of Alpha Wealth Group have been helping people retire since 2010 and have found that while many have an investment plan, very few have a tax plan. And that can be the element that makes a huge difference when it comes to money you'll have to spend in your retirement. What if you had a plan that protected you against future tax increases by the government? What if it kept your Social Security taxes from going up, all while keeping your Medicare premiums down? It is possible, and that's just the beginning. What kind of hinges are on your retirement door? You either have a tax plan or you don't. Call Tom Fortino and the team at Alpha Wealth Group today at 630-864-6711. That's 630-864-6711. Or download his complimentary Alpha Wealth reports by visiting alphawealthgroup.com.
If you need to hire, it seems like the whole process can be exhausting. You search resumes, wait for the right candidates to apply, set up initial interviews. It's a lot of time and work. Well, what if you could meet with qualified candidates for your job the very next day? Now you can with Zip Intro from ZipRecruiter. And right now, you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. Zip Intro is super easy to use. You simply pick a time, and it does all the work of finding and scheduling qualified candidates for you. Then you can choose who you want to talk to and meet with great people on back-to-back video calls as soon as the next day. Best of all, you save time and energy.
Try Zip Intro for free right now at this exclusive web address, ZipRecruiter.com/free. Zip Intro. Post jobs today. Talk to qualified candidates tomorrow. Once again, go to ZipRecruiter.com/free to try it for free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Protect your liver and give it the support that it deserves with Active Liver from New Nordic. Find it in stores at your local CVS, Meijer Grocery, or Amazon, or NewNordicUSA.com.
From the Team Hawkburg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 14 minutes, both directions. On the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Burn Interchange, 11 minutes. Outbound, about 13 minutes. On the Eisenhower, inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 13 minutes. Outbound, about 14 minutes. On the Stevenson inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, 18 minutes. Outbound, about 15 minutes. This report is sponsored by ExpressPros.com. Tired of feeling alone in your job search? With just one connection, you can find endless job opportunities. That connection is Express Employment Professionals. Don't go it alone. Visit ExpressPros.com to find the location that's nearest you. That's ExpressPros.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now I check your forecast from the National Weather Service.
We've got some sun and clouds today with a couple of brief midday showers. It'll be warm and breezy this afternoon with high up to 86. Partly cloudy, warm and humid tonight with low 73. Mostly sunny tomorrow, windy with a high 97. I'm Ruth O'Brien on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by The Real Story with Jeannie Ives, powered by Breakthrough Ideas. Sunday evening at 7 on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Welcome back to the Morning Answer. I'm John Anthony, host of Detroit's Morning Answer and Black and White Radio. Black and White Radio is heard every Saturday, 4 to 7 p.m. in Detroit's Morning Answer from 7 to 9 Eastern Time. Joined by my good friend, and I'm so honored to have him here, Mike Coolidge, 12-year radio veteran. Mike, you're doing some great things right now, too. I definitely want to be able to plug what you're doing because I think what you guys are attempting to do is much needed here in the state of Illinois.
Yes,
I really do.
And we're in Michigan, too.
Oh, you're in Michigan, too.
We're in Wisconsin, Illinois, Michigan. We have a couple of members in Pennsylvania and Florida as well, but we're primarily based in Illinois, Michigan, and Wisconsin, and we are all about turning those states and keeping 2 out of those 3 red.
Oh.
Turning Illinois red, which is going to take a little bit of time, but we're definitely making big progress, and keeping Wisconsin and Michigan red long term. That's our goal.
Yesterday, I don't know if you know it, Mike, yesterday was Juneteenth. I'm a former advisory member of the Frederick Douglass Foundation here in Illinois. And my good friend Babette and Raquel Mitchell, Babette Holder and Raquel Mitchell, they were there as well. And, a lot of people, I believe, the celebration and what Juneteenth means has been hijacked by the left. I believe that with every fiber in me. And I caught a little flack yesterday because I came out on the show saying that today is Juneteenth, and people were like, well, huh? Isn't that what? But didn't Joe Biden make it a federal holiday? I don't know. We can debate about if it should have been a federal holiday. President Trump just said on yesterday we have too many federal holidays.
I mean, but it objectively is a federal holiday right now.
Right. Joe Biden. Yeah. Joe Biden actually made. Actually, President Trump was going to do that in his first term, and he decided to wait until he won in his second term to actually. I don't know if he's going to make it a federal holiday, but he wanted to highlight it. And I know my good friend Deontay Johnson from Black Conservative Federation actually did an op-ed on Juneteenth, and I wanted to bring somebody on that would be able to articulate what it means. What is it? What is Juneteenth? Why was it created? And why should Republicans celebrate it? And I'm going to actually, Priscilla Rahn, she's a Project 21 ambassador. She's former vice chairman of the Colorado Republican Committee, and she's also a longtime public servant. I wanted to bring her on because, like me, she's mixed race. And we have people who are mixed race, and I know she's probably laughing right now because she understands it. We get caught up in the different worlds that we are born into. Me, black, my dad's white, which I just found out 4 or 5 years ago. I didn't know that. But Priscilla, welcome to The Morning Answer. How are you today?
Good morning. I'm great. Thanks for having me on.
I really appreciate it. You've talked about Juneteenth as a powerful reminder of the promise of liberty fulfilled. From your perspective, what does that fulfillment look like today, and where is it still lacking?
Well, it looks like really making sure that we are seen for our minds. The United Negro College Fund had a commercial in the early 70s that said a mind is a terrible thing to waste. And I've just learned how powerful our minds are in the Black community and how we've lost that. And we need to get back to focusing on our creativity as a Black community, pushing for smaller government, more independence, so we can get our families back. And so I think it's a great reminder to focus on our skills and our independence and, the things that made us great when Abraham Lincoln did emancipate slaves and we finally got to Texas and the news got there. I mean, it's like, it's come full circle.
And what I think. And you know what's so crazy about that? When I believe his name was Major General Granger, who had to travel all the way to Texas 2.5 years after Lincoln freed the slaves to tell them that, hey, brother, sister, you're free. And but I think what people don't understand about that story, there was the Democratic Party who did not want to release these slaves. So talk to us about why what's the importance of Juneteenth, and why should Republicans look at this from a different perspective and not look at it through the critical race lens how the left has hijacked this important celebration?
Yeah, I think we as Republicans have forgotten that it's more than just we're the party of freeing the slaves. We were the party of the Constitution and equity, right? And opportunity and independence and the American dream. And although we haven't quite gotten there because the left, like you said, continues to hijack this narrative and separate us and divide us, these are wonderful opportunities to say, as a Republican Party, we continue to stand for these principles and these values, that we believe in the content of character, not the color of someone's skin, and take charge of these holidays. I feel like Biden threw us a bone. Like, what did it accomplish to make it a federal holiday? No, nothing. It just made him look like he cared more. And we as Republicans have to do a better job of showing that we actually care. We can't just say this was something that happened, decades ago. It's something we continue to fight for today. Yeah.
Priscilla,
great opportunity.
Priscilla, great to speak with you. Mike Coolidge here. You talk about, and John just talked about, how the left has hijacked Juneteenth. Like so many other things, they go right to the politics, right to the what hay can we make of this. Ilhan Omar yesterday tweeted, 160 years ago on June 19th, 1865, slavery ended in this country. Today we celebrate Black freedom, resilience, and achievement, and continue to root out the systemic racism from our policies and institutions. Turns out, too, as many pointed out, Ilhan Omar, originally from Somalia, has 98,000 people living in modern slavery, according to a 2023 report for Walk Free. That's 6.2 people for every 1,000 people. So the country she came from is still a slavery country, but she didn't want to say something positive about her own country, the United States, how far we've come. No, she immediately turned it into criticism of the United States. She has since deleted that tweet. But what does that say about how the left treats and politicizes things that should probably be uniting us? I mean, Juneteenth is an objectively positive holiday, the celebration of the end of slavery that is, a dark period, obviously, in American history, but that is a unifying thing, that this country fought a terrible, bloody, worst war in our history about it and has overcome this, terrible slavery thing. But no, I guess according to people like Ilhan Omar, there's still remnants of that. What do you make of that?
So for those who may not know the history of America and the Democratic Party, racism is in their DNA. I am so convinced of it. The more I study my history and my heritage, let's just start, with slavery, and the KKK, Jim Crow, redlining, marriage laws, lynching, all of the things. And then we fast forward to, what they've done with abortion in the Black community and the genocide and the targeted genocide of our people. Everything that they do, lately it's been renaming everything, taking Aunt Jemima off of the syrup. They try to make themselves out to be this big force of equality, but really what they've done is continue to badger us, from presidents saying, acting like we don't know how to go get an ID. We don't know how to use the internet. It's continuous,
so condescending,
continuous soft bigotry of low expectations. Yes. Of the Black community. We see it in education. I'm an educator. We still have an economic gap. We have all of these things, and the Democrat Party continues to pass policies that damage the Black family. They hurt Black men in our communities. They're putting skirts on our little Black boys and feminizing them. They're doing all of this stuff to continue to destroy the Black family and Black fatherhood. And so I'll give you another example. Recently, my father was military. They changed the name of Fort Hood to Fort Cavazos. No disrespect to General Cavazos, but now President Trump is changing the name back, and people are in uproar about Confederates, And I'm like, you guys keep changing the names of everything, but you're not getting to the point of what really matters to the Black community. We want opportunity. We want financial stability. We need strong families. But the policies that they pass actually eradicate those things that are important to us.
Well, on that point, Priscilla, do you see things moving in the right direction as far as members of the black community, particularly with how they vote, waking up to the efficacy of conservative Republican policies versus the, Democrat, big government, expand the government, get as many people as dependent on the government as possible, thing that doesn't work in Detroit, doesn't work in Chicago, doesn't work in Milwaukee, doesn't work in Denver. I know you live in Colorado. The data says that more non-white men are voting for Republicans more and more and moving away from the Democrat Party. Are you seeing that in Colorado and elsewhere as you travel?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, President Trump won with +7 in the black community this last election. And, the Republican Party, we respect men. We respect fatherhood. We respect masculinity. That's what women want. I'm going to tell you right now, women want strong men who are godly men, who are going to stand up for principles and protect their families. And I think that where we need to get away from that feminist movement that just degraded men and said, we don't need you. We've had that whole, era where black women was like, I don't need you, and talking down to their children about their dads. I mean, this is the stuff that needs to change. In the Republican Party, we stand for better principles and those types of things. So I think it's refreshing that men are seeing that, and we honor fathers and we honor men in our community. We need strong men because so go the men, so goes the family, so goes the community. So that's what we're standing for. And I think, President Trump and this administration, we're seeing that.
And Priscilla, one of the things that I tackled on my Detroit Morning Answer show was black fatigue. I think people are fatigued from black fatigue. I want you to listen to Whoopi Goldberg speak about black people having it worse than what's happening in Iran. I want you to hear what these brothers are saying about what she had to say, and I want to get your take.
Yeah, I think it's very different to live in the United States in 2025 than it is to live in Iran.
Not if you're black.
Not for everybody.
Not if you're black.
Guys, don't go.
These are brothers.
Them niggas are having bombs dropped on them right now.
Oops.
We at this bitch with a school.
I better stop it. But that's the consternation that a lot of them, especially brothers, and I think that's one of the reasons why, you had Barack Obama chiding black men, basically telling us we need to vote for her just because she's black and a woman. When you hear this, is there fatigue amongst the black fatigue? And if you don't know what black fatigue is, it's basically the chronic mental, emotional, and physical exhaustion experienced by black individuals due to repeated exposure to racism. Everything is racist, basically. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm fatigued. But when you hear people like Whoopi and Oprah and the Obamas, who are millionaires, try to talk about how oppressed we are, I mean, I'm not here for that, right?
Yeah.
It's so hypocritical to hear them talk like that. But once again, that's the narrative that the left has to continue to perpetuate in order to get votes at the polls. And they use, I call it also adrenal fry. They keep frying our adrenals with this stuff, and we get sick and tired. And when you have someone like, Biden really upset me when he said, I'm going to find a black woman to be my vice chair. I'm going to find a black woman to be on the Supreme Court. Why didn't you just say you're going to pick someone who's intelligent, qualified, and will do a great job? Because for someone like me as a black woman, I'm thinking, so the only thing I have to offer is the color of my skin, not my mind. And so they continue to degrade our minds, and black people in the community need to start activating their brains and thinking for themselves and being a contributor to society. That's going to be the key.
That is such a huge point. The decision that Sleepy Joe made on both of those picks, Kamala Harris for vice president and KJB or the Supreme Court Justice Jackson for the Supreme Court, the fact that he said before he chose them that this is going to be a black female, he could have made such a bigger statement and just been a more fair person and encouraged, young black women to, strive for excellence. And if he had said exactly what you said, Priscilla, I'm going to choose the smartest, greatest person, and he still picked Kamala Harris, and he still picked Supreme Court Jackson, and then, young black women could be inspired by that and say, oh, he had his choice from all different people of the world. He looked at everyone in America and, white men, black men, Hispanic women, and he chose this person to be his vice president. No, he said right from the get-go, I'm discriminating against everyone who's not a black female. I'm only going to choose a black female, and it's going to be Kamala Harris and then Jackson. That message is just so negative to black females. I've got to think. No, I mean, I'm not a black female. You are.
You don't identify as one?
I do not.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Priscilla.
Well, no, I mean, and I think that's what makes it more challenging for President Trump when he ended his DEI programs, because, people are funny in society when they see, oh, you have a black pilot or a black doctor, and then it's human nature. People start to question.
Yeah.
Were they a DEI hire?
Yep.
Do they really have the skills? If we would just stop hiring based on skin color, and say, I'm, gonna go to somebody that actually is qualified and smart, that would help a lot.
Isn't it funny that people get offended if you say that Kamala Harris was a DEI hire or that kid, but then it's like, oh wait, how is that offensive? Like, I thought DEI was good. Is it good or is it bad?
It hasn't helped black people.
No, it's terrible.
I mean, think about it. She spent the whole campaign calling Biden a racist.
Yeah.
On the debate stage.
Yeah.
Right? And then she drops out, has less than 1 or 2% vote or popularity, and then he turns around and makes her his candidate because he needs a black person on his ticket. I mean, he totally used her.
Yeah. It was a debate. Do you remember her thing on Colbert?
Yeah.
It was a debate. That was her whole response to that.
Really quickly, Priscilla, we got about a minute left. Why do black folks continue to fall for those buzzwords? Equity, equality, and when you look at the policies that are implemented, none of that actually trickles down to black communities. Why do we? What's the message? How do we get beyond that, Priscilla?
Well, there's still some inequities lingering, right? There's still some opportunity gaps that are lingering from our parents' generation that we're still working through. Like we're basically one generation from the civil rights movement. So there's a lot of work to do, but I think it's going to start with stop being a part of the groupthink, stop saying I have to be Democrat because I'm black, be independent, go back to Frederick Douglass, go back to the time where we created the NAACP, right?
Yeah.
And go to those principles, those founding principles, and hold these people accountable. In the so-called black leaders, they're not doing us any favors either. They're traitor to our race, Malcolm X, bro.
Yeah, and you know what? Also, go and read the blueprint for a better deal for Black America, instituted by the Project 21 in October 2022. It was an amazing read, and everything that you guys are doing over at the Project 21. I know you're an ambassador there. I want to thank you guys for everything you do and all of the people that I interview on a daily basis. So let everybody at the leadership team know that I appreciate them.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on today.
All right. She's Priscilla
Great to
Rahn.
meet you, Priscilla.
She's Priscilla Rahn, Project 21 ambassador. She's also the former vice chairman of the Colorado Republican Committee. We'll be right back.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer.
Your show keeps me alive during the week. There's nobody I'd rather listen to between 5 and 9 in the morning than you guys.
On AM 560, The Answer.
The following advertisement includes a celebrity impersonation.
The summer heat in Chicagoland is no joke. And if your old air conditioner is making funny noises, you may already know it's time for a new unit.
Look, your air conditioner, it's a disaster. People are telling me it's the worst ever.
Don't sweat it, literally. When it comes to cooling your home, Air Right Heating and Cooling does it the best.
And they love our country. Beautiful people.
Rebates are still available, financing is flexible, and at Air Right installations are smooth and professional with no surprises.
It's beautiful. Some people say it's the coolest air anyone's ever felt. I don't know. That's just what they're saying. It's doing an incredible job, really tremendous.
Plus, tell them AM 560 sent you, and Air Right will give you $56 off any service. Visit Air Right Heating and Cooling today at AIR-RITE.com. Again, that's AIR-RITE.com. Air Right Heating and Cooling, doing it right since 1959.
Can you afford not to have effective video surveillance? Is your outdoor inventory at risk? Theft and vandalism can hit your bottom line hard. Stop these events before they happen. Monitor your business 24/7 with alarm detection systems. We prevent crime with live operators watching video alerts, ensuring your assets and employees are secure. It's not worth the liability when you can effectively protect what matters most. Call ADS at 1-630-844-6322 or visit adsalarm.com for a free demo. Alarm license number 127000143. Spending too much on security guards to patrol your property? With rising crime rates, guards may not be enough. And the cost, it's adding up fast. At Alarm Detection Systems, we offer a more innovative solution. Live video monitoring. Cameras provide extra coverage in even the hardest to reach areas. Unlike guards, they never get intimidated. Our operators watch video alerts in real time, cut costs, increase coverage, and stay secure. Call ADS at 1-630-844-6322 or visit adsalarm.com for a free demo. Alarm license number 127000143.
If you need to hire, it seems like the whole process can be exhausting. You search resumes, wait for the right candidates to apply, set up initial interviews. It's a lot of time and work. Well, what if you could meet with qualified candidates for your job the very next day? Now you can with Zip Intro from ZipRecruiter. And right now, you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. Zip Intro is super easy to use. You simply pick a time, and it does all the work of finding and scheduling qualified candidates for you. Then you can choose who you want to talk to and meet with great people on back-to-back video calls as soon as the next day. Best of all, you save time and energy.
Try Zip Intro for free right now at this exclusive web address, ZipRecruiter.com/free. Zip Intro. Post jobs today. Talk to qualified candidates tomorrow. Once again, go to ZipRecruiter.com/free to try it for free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer. Looking for some hope? Listen to Leading the Way with Dr. Michael Youssef on our sister station, AM 1160, Hope for Your Life. Weekday mornings, starting at 8. News, opinion, insight. This is AM 560, The Answer. WIND, Chicago. Streaming at 560theanswer.com.
They've been battling for a week now. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. And as Israeli warplanes attack more of Iran's nuclear missile production sites, Iran fired more missiles, and one got through the Iron Dome.
The missile hit this morning in the town of Beersheba in southern Israel. It hit near an apartment complex, also an industrial complex, resulting in fire on the ground and a lot of structure damage. No reports of injuries. There are reports that this single missile made its way through the air defenses because one of the interceptors malfunctioned.
Fox's Mike Tobin in Tel Aviv. President Trump keeps saying Iran can't be allowed to have nuclear weapons, and he's told Israel's prime minister he'll decide within 2 weeks if the U.S. will help take out Iran's program.
Benjamin Netanyahu reacting to that, stating that he trusts President Trump's judgment. Also, he feels that Israel is capable of destroying Iran's nuclear threat unilaterally. The U.S., though, is the only nation with possession of a bomb that could reach Iran's nuclear enrichment site Fordow, which is built deep into the mountainside.
Fox's Alexandria Hoff at the White House, where just before midnight, President Trump posted on Truth Social, big win at the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, adding that the judges realized that California Governor Gavin Newsom is incompetent and ill-prepared. This after the court upheld the president's authority to deploy National Guard troops to Los Angeles to deal with protests over illegal immigration raids, but the Democratic governor vows to keep challenging that. And a Fox News poll seems to side with Newsom. A slight majority agree.
The Trump administration's gone too far on immigration enforcement. A similar number found that sending National Guard and U.S. troops to Southern California made the situation worse. Nearly 2/3 of independent voters polled do not approve of the way ICE is operating, with voters evenly split on approving or disapproving protests against ICE.
Fox's Jessica Rosenthal. In that poll, 46% approve of the overall job the president's doing. Summer starts tonight, and
it's going to feel like the dog days of summer across the central U.S.
Fox meteorologist Janice Dean, it could hit 101 degrees in Denver today. Heat advisories or warnings from there to Minnesota to Mississippi, then the East Coast gets to next week. America's listening to Fox News.
Good morning. It's 70 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. A woman's hospitalized in critical condition after she was struck by a vehicle on the outbound Eisenhower Expressway on the west side. The incident happened early this morning near Pulaski Road. Police say at least 2 vehicles were involved. Traffic on the outbound 290 was closed between Independence and Cicero. Chicago aldermen are approving a controversial snap curfew aimed at cracking down on teen takeovers. Here's Perry Williams with that.
The sponsor of the ordinance, Second Ward Alderman Brian Hopkins, is content with the 27-22 vote.
This will be used in a constitutional and effective manner, and all the notice requirements that are in the ordinance will be adhered to.
Mayor Brandon Johnson plans to veto the measure.
Offering up police power, extended police power without any check or balance, has not boded well for black people and brown people in this country.
The mayor reportedly will take action against the ordinance tomorrow, which is the official start of summer.
The Pope continues to prove just how big a White Sox fan he is. Pope Leo XIV was spotted taking part in the White Sox chant earlier this week as he rode through Vatican City in the Pope-mobile.
White Sox! White Sox! White Sox! White Sox! White Sox! White Sox! White Sox!
The Chicago native is a confirmed fan of the Southsiders. The Archdiocese of Chicago held a celebration for him this past weekend at Rate Field. News is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Overpaying for dental implants is over. If you have a Blue Cross Blue Shield PPO or FEP, you could save 90% off on average to get your smile back. Learn more and check if you qualify at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
This week on Capitol Hill is the best way to get informed on everything going on with Congress. Hosted by Tony Perkins and the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson.
We're going to achieve over $1.5 trillion in savings. It's the largest amount of savings of any government that would ever be achieved in the history of mankind. I mean, it's a good start. It's not enough, but it's a good start.
Stay informed and become a regular listener. This week on Capitol Hill, Sundays at 1 on AM 560. The Answer.
Welcome back to Ask Hassles.
How do you get pee out of an old mattress?
By trading in that old mattress for a new Beautyrest or Sealy Posturepedic.
But that'll cost a lot of money.
Not at Hassles Mattress. Through Monday, trade in your old mattress and get additional savings of $248 off a queen and $348 off a king. Plus, next day delivery and haul away of the old mattress for pee.
What was that?
Sorry, I meant for free.
Sure you did.
Open 9 to 9. Find an employee-free showroom near you at Hassles.com.
When you're hiring, have you ever felt like you're missing out on meeting truly great candidates for your roles? It seems impossible to find them, but they have to be out there somewhere, right? Well, they're not hard to find when you know where to go, and that place is ZipRecruiter. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day. And because these people are actively looking for jobs just like yours, it's easy to find the right person right away. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. But if you're not using ZipRecruiter, you're missing out. So see what it's like when the impossible is easy. When you go to ZipRecruiter.com/free right now to try ZipRecruiter for free. Once again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free. Never miss out on great candidates with ZipRecruiter.
This is Carol Platt-Liebau for Townhall.com. The New York Times celebrated Father's Day in its own inimitable way. Susanna Meadows, a senior staff editor in the opinion section, devoted an entire piece to trashing her 92-year-old father. The essay is a lengthy litany of woe. Meadows tells us her father gave her financial anxiety and a genetic predisposition to melanoma. He was a sexist and a drinker, an adulterer too. It's no surprise when Meadows reveals herself as part of the left. Its disdain for males is evident. That's the Democrats' real problem. They can spend $20 million trying to learn how to win back men. But while their party is dominated by unhappy women who dislike and distrust males, they might as well just light that money on fire. There's no reason for men to support a political party that offers them nothing but resentment and contempt. I'm Carol Platt-Liebau.
From the Team Hawkesburg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 15 minutes, outbound 14 minutes. On the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Burn Interchange, 17 minutes, outbound about 28 minutes. On the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 19 minutes, outbound 20 minutes. On the Stevenson inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, 21 minutes, outbound is about 25 minutes. On the Dan Ryan inbound from 95th to the Burn Interchange, 13 minutes, outbound 11 minutes. Traffic is a service of Woodland Windows and Doors. See Marvin Products in their beautiful showroom at the corner of Lake and Gray and Roselle, or visit woodlandwindows.com for a free in-home expert consultation. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
For today, we've got sun and clouds with a couple of brief midday showers. It'll be warm and breezy this afternoon with a high up to 86. Partly cloudy, warm and humid tonight with a low 73. Mostly sunny, windy tomorrow with a high 97. I'm Ruth O'Brien on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, regarding the ongoing situation in Iran, I know there has been a lot of speculation amongst all of you in the media regarding the president's decision-making and whether or not the United States will be directly involved. In light of that news, I have a message directly from the president, and I quote, "Based on the fact that there's a substantial chance of negotiations that may or may not take place with Iran in the near future, I will make my decision whether or not to go within the next 2 weeks." That's a quote directly from the president for all of you today.
Welcome back to the Morning Answer with John and Mike Coolidge. That was Trump's press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, discussing President Trump making a decision on what's going to happen in the ongoing war between Israel and Iran. You know, when you think about the Middle East, you know, fire often meets fire. But what happens when the United States is caught between an ally's right to defend itself and the broader need for regional stability? As tensions rise between Israel and Iran, former Marine and Middle East policy expert Adam Weinstein says diplomacy must lead. But it won't work without pressure from Washington. Can President Trump really be the one to shift the calculus? Let's find out. Adam Weinstein, welcome to the Morning Answer with John and Mike.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So, Adam, what does genuine diplomacy with a state like Iran look like? And can it truly succeed when proxy warfare continues on multiple fronts?
Well, look, I think it can. President Trump had negotiated a truce of sorts with the Houthis. The Iran-backed militias in Iraq hadn't attacked U.S. Troops in months and months, and that was partly due to pressure from Iran itself and also from the Iraqi government. The Iranians in the U.S. Negotiating team were set to meet last Sunday prior to the Israeli strikes. So I think it was working.
You know, some people argue that the U.S. needs to pick a lane, either play the global referee or they should just completely pull back entirely and let Israel defend itself on its own. Is there a sustainable middle ground in our Middle East policy to bring forth peace?
Yeah, the sustainable middle ground would have been what Trump was already doing, which is that he was, still offering Israel support, but he was engaged in negotiations with the Iranians. I don't think it's either or. I mean, the reality is that Israel doesn't defend itself on its own. Israel's reliant on U.S. military aid and weapons transfers and things like that, and technology that we've shared with them, and intelligence that we share with them. So given the assistance we provide Israel, I do think we have a right to say to Israel, look, we don't want you to undermine our interests in the region. And I agree that Israel has a right to defend itself, but the interests of the United States and the interests of Israel are not exactly the same.
Good morning, Adam. Mike Coolidge here. There's a piece in the Washington Examiner today from Byron York that lays out two big questions that Trump needs to have answered before he makes this decision if he is and we are actually going to attack these nuclear facilities there. And these questions, as Byron York lays out, is one, is a U.S. attack necessary to keep Iran from obtaining nuclear weapons? And two, if the United States did attack, would it work? How would you answer those two questions?
Look, the second question is a loaded question. You know, whether it would work on a technical level, I'm not an expert in munitions and whether the bunker-busting bombs they have could actually reach the Fordow nuclear facility. In fact, I think even our military probably doesn't know for sure whether that would work. There's a second aspect of whether it would work. What comes next? I mean, does the regime stay intact? Is it removed? We've seen how complicated those questions are when it comes to Iraq, and we got a lot of things wrong there. The first question is, you know, do we need to go in militarily to stop Iran from getting a nuke? I'd argue no. I think that we can have a deal with them. I think they're desperate to have a deal. I think they have every incentive to have a deal. And if they violate the deal, and it should be a deal that has a lot of oversight and inspections, and if the moment they violate it, you can always return to a military option. But once you engage in a military option, you can't go back. That's the thing. You can go from diplomacy to the military option and escalate, but it's very hard to de-escalate backwards. So that's what I'd say.
You served in Afghanistan. I know I was in the very, very beginning of Operation Iraqi Freedom, and that obviously really controversial war, controversial decision we made. And you hear the talking points come out about this possible war, and really, I mean, it is a military conflict, obviously, right now between Israel and Iran, not necessarily the United States yet, but what have we learned from Iraq, and how can we apply that to what we're about to do in Iran? I know it's easy, again, to jump to the, well, they sound the same. They just have one different letter, and regime change, and do they have weapons of mass destruction? I mean, that is what a nuclear bomb is, isn't it? Do we trust our intelligence communities? I mean, all of these things are very similar to Iraq, but there are very, very key differences here. What do you see what those differences are? And again, as someone who's served in a combat zone like you, there are obvious fatal things that can occur, mortal decisions that we can't undo if we do this. How do you compare and contrast the Iraq dilemma versus the one we're faced with right now?
Well, look, that's a good question. And, you know, first of all, if we trust our intelligence community, our own DNI, Tulsi Gabbard, said that the Iranians hadn't made significant progress towards a nuclear weapon and weren't actively going for it right now. So if we trust our intelligence community, we should listen to them. In terms of Iraq and Iran, you know, as someone who served, that it was very complicated in Iraq. Yes, Saddam Hussein was terrible. Yes, most Iraqis welcomed us as liberators at first, but those same people turned on us because they didn't like having an occupying foreign force in their country. And the irony is that Iraq ended up essentially, in some ways, becoming a proxy of Iran. Not completely, but there's elements within Iraq that are proxy forces of Iran. So we replaced one problem with another problem. And I think the same would be true in Iran, potentially. I think plenty of Iranians want to see the regime go. I don't blame them. But you don't see them out in the streets yet. And generally, people, even if they hate their own government, don't like a foreign occupying force, especially if it's Israel or the United States. And Iran is much bigger than Iraq. It has a diverse population like Iraq. And I don't see why it would go any better. So I think that's how I would contrast it.
You know, Adam, on what authority does President Trump have to join this battle? Is it the War Powers Resolution of 1973? Because I know members of Congress are saying that if we join, Congress should have a say in that. What's your take on that?
I mean, I agree with the members of Congress who say that. This isn't something that's limited to President Trump. All presidents since George W. Bush, and arguably even before, have tried to expand their executive authority. They've tried to use AUMF from right after 9/11 to justify anything anywhere in the world. And I do think Congress needs to have some oversight into this, especially if it's going to put U.S. troops at risk.
What do you make of the silence of so many of Iran's supposed allies in the region after all of this has gone down in the last couple of weeks?
I think they're waiting to see what happens, and I think some of them have issued statements of condemnation, but you're right, they've been pretty quiet. Iran's Gulf Arab neighbors, I'm sure, would be happy to see the regime go, but I also don't think they want to see something like the Iraq War repeat. And I think they're waiting to take their cues from the United States, frankly. I don't think they want to be on record opposing a decision that President Trump may make that's different from what they say. So this is a situation in which U.S. leadership is needed, and the rest of the world, including the region, is looking to President Trump for direction.
Adam, I don't know if you saw the Iranian parliamentary. They actually burned the American flag. They did chants of death to America. I interviewed an imam yesterday, and he said chants like death to America and chants like from the river to the sea doesn't mean anything because it's not actionable. They're just words. What happens, because as Benjamin Netanyahu is on record saying that he wants regime change and he wants to take out the Ayatollah, and there's rumors that President Trump has stopped that. What happens to the Middle East should the Ayatollah is martyred? Because that's how they're going to look at it, that the Ayatollah, the supreme leader, has been martyred and killed in action. What happens to the Middle East?
Well, look, if the supreme leader was killed, I think that would be really destabilizing to Iran. He doesn't have that much religious authority outside of Iran, even among Shia Muslims. Most of them follow another Ayatollah, Ayatollah Sistani. But it would be really destabilizing. As for the antics, yeah, I saw those antics where they set the flag on fire. I mean, that's typical. I don't think it's just symbolic. I think it does represent real hatred. But, what I'd say is that we're a powerful, strong country, and we shouldn't be goaded into a conflict just because some parliamentarians decided to set some paper on fire and almost set the carpet in their own political building on fire. I mean, it's just comical antics. I don't agree with it. I think it's offensive. I obviously don't agree with the American flag ever being disrespected. But, in my view, that's not how we make decisions about war and peace. If they want to be comical over there, that's on them.
I want to read another quick little sentence here from this Byron York piece and get your comments on it, Adam. That leaves the question of whether Israel needs the U.S. to attack Iran to finish the root canal. Benjamin Netanyahu referred to this bombing that they did as a root canal. You want to really pummel these nuclear facilities as deeply as possible so that there's no way they can reconstitute them. And Byron York says the answer could well be no, that Israel does not need the U.S. to attack Iran to finish the root canal. If it is no, why would the U.S. get involved in fighting a war with all the uncertainty and bad things that could happen when Israel is quite willingly doing the job itself? Israel has, after all, shown amazing resourcefulness in its multi-front war since October 7th. Think the Hezbollah exploding beeper scheme. It no doubt has plans of its own to destroy Iran's nuclear capabilities with or without American help. Your thoughts?
Well, I think we shouldn't get involved. I also do agree that I actually agree that the United States is probably needed for the root canal. It's a pretty good metaphor. But I don't think, again, I think we should try diplomacy first. The military option's always on the table. Look, the Iranian population overall is actually pretty supportive of the United States and has, if you look at the reactions to the U.S. and even polling, they have positive views of the U.S., despite those parliamentarians who will light an American flag on fire or chant death to America. A lot of that is staged. A lot of it's organized. Yes, there's a segment of the population that has those kinds of toxic views, but the broader, ordinary Iranians are fairly pro-America. I think if we involve ourselves in an intervention and kill a bunch of civilians in the process, we're going to lose that good sentiment. Ultimately, it's up to Iranians if they want to have a regime change. They're the ones who are going to have to do it. They're the ones who are going to have to rise up. We can't really do that from abroad. In terms of having a surgical strike on their nuclear facilities, sure, that's always an option. What I'm saying is try diplomacy first. They were already in the process. They were supposed to meet last Sunday. Iran is not weeks away from the bomb, no matter what anyone tells you. And there was time to sort of see that through. And the moment they violate it, you return to the military option.
Yeah.
If Israel could do it on their own, I think they would have done it already.
Yeah. Adam, let's forecast 2 weeks now. What's President Trump's decision? Are we sending the GBU-57, that 30-pound precision-guided bunker-busting bomb, to Israel to take out the Fordo nuclear facility? What say you?
You know, if I was really good at predictions, I'd be making a lot more money in the stock market than I do. But I just don't know. I think his inclination is not to do it, or he would have done it already. You know, he also has pressure from within his own support network. He made that 2-week announcement, I think, after having lunch with Steve Bannon. There's a lot of people in the America First movement who don't want the United States to get involved in another regime change war in the Middle East. And I think President Trump feels that pressure, and I think that's why he's delaying things. I know he likes to be unpredictable. I know he likes to take his time to make decisions. I know he does 180s and keeps people on their toes. But I think his inclination is not to do it. But there's a lot of pressure on him to do it. And, I think it would be a mistake to lead with that, because once you let that genie out of the bottle, you can't put it back in. But you can always go from diplomacy to military force.
I agree with you, Adam. And I think, and I might be in the minority here, that this debate that's happening on the right about what we are to do is a healthy one.
I agree.
That Ted Cruz, Tucker Carlson exchange got really heated the other night about this exactly. And I think both sides of this debate need to be listened to. But ultimately, again, this is why we elected him. He is about, President Trump, the results first of a negotiation. What is the perfect scenario? How does it unfold? And to my mind, it's exactly what was laid out here in this Washington Examiner piece, is that Israel does the work of getting this root canal done, and we are ready right now to execute, to do a surgical strike, and that's on the table. And I think every mullah, every person, if they are to negotiate with Trump, knows that he will pull that trigger if he needs to. He's not a weak Obama type. Don't cross this line or else, you know. Well, the red line was crossed. They know Trump will do it. And his reputation is going to, I think, force their hand, and we're not going to ultimately have to literally pull the big trigger. That's what I hope and pray happens.
That's precisely why I think diplomacy is an option. I mean, Trump killed Qasem Soleimani, which was the Quds Force commander, so it would almost be like killing the CIA chief. The Iranians know that that Trump is serious. I think that's why they came back to the table. They don't like Trump, and yet they still came back to the table. So I do think there's real opportunity for diplomacy, but you also have to let diplomacy work.
Yeah, and I believe President Trump will do that. Adam, we have to leave it right there. He's Adam Weinstein, a former U.S. Marine who served in Afghanistan. He's currently the Deputy Director of the Middle East Program at the Quincy Institute for Responsible Statecraft. Adam, thanks so much for joining us on The Morning Answer.
Thanks for your service, brother.
Yeah, you as well. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Wow. I mean, heavy is the head who wears the crown. And, you know, Trump doesn't like war. You know, you see a lot of memes out there basically saying, I thought there wouldn't be wars if, well, he inherited a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
Based upon weakness from the previous administration.
And does anyone remember the pallets of cash that happened under the Obama administration that facilitated a lot of this? If those dolts like John Kerry and the rest of them were smarter, we wouldn't be in this situation.
Yeah. Coming up on The Morning Answer, we're going to talk with Representative Joe Aragona. He's part of the House Republican leadership. We'll be right back.
Before you see it on TV, share it on Facebook, or read about it in the paper. Hear it here first. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
This news alert is brought to you by Secure Controls Incorporated. With no signs of retail theft slowing down, organized retail crime now impacts the overall economy, with losses trending toward over $150 billion by 2026. It's important now more than ever to send a message to thieves. If you're a VP or Director of Loss Prevention or Asset Protection, you already are aware of these alarming statistics. How can you protect your inventory and get back to rising profitability? It only takes one click to secure.com. That's SE-KURE.com. With active anti-theft security solutions and products from Secure Controls, ensure assured, state-of-the-art protection of your merchandise. Secure will keep thieves second-guessing and provide peace of mind to your employees. Check out our products manufactured in the USA. From electronic sensors and alarms to mechanical and clothing security to customized solutions, we're the original inventors of anti-shoplifting products. Request our product catalog today at secure.com, se-kure.com, or call 800-250-9265.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank that cares about your business and is invested in your success. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Hi, I'm Chris Johnson, CEO of Classic Cinemas and proud customer of Signature Bank. We are a local family-owned business that is known for free refills on all sizes of popcorn, soft drinks, and ices. With over 9,000 heated recliners in 16 locations, we marry the traditions of the past with today's state-of-the-art technology. Throw in a 30-minute guarantee and an after movie mint, and you have the perfect night out. As we strive to make every guest our priority, Signature Bank does the same with their customers. The team at Signature Bank is interested in taking my company forward. They have all the resources and solutions of the big banks, but they customize their offerings to meet my business needs. The customer always comes first with Signature Bank.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Let Signature Bank turn your business vision into reality. Visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Do you owe $10,000 or more in credit card debt or personal loans? With credit card debt at all-time highs, Debt Relief Advocates is urgently notifying consumers of debt relief now being made available, designed to aid consumers with out-of-control credit card debt. Those who qualify and enroll for this relief program will only have to pay back a fraction of what they owe. This is not bankruptcy or a debt consolidation loan. This is a relief program that credit card companies would rather you not know about, as it ends your debt nightmare and saves you lots of money. Consumers owing at least $10,000 in credit card debt or personal loans can now take advantage of this debt relief as the cost of living skyrockets. Debt Relief Advocates has established a relief hotline for you to call to learn what debt reduction you may qualify for. For this free information, call 800-422-1609, 800-422-1609, 800-422-1609, or simply visit godra.com.
If you're talking, they will hear you.
We all want our kids to grow up safe and healthy, so we show them how. And we tell them with honest conversations that let them know what we expect. Not just one time, but every chance we get. That's especially important when it comes to alcohol and other drugs. Kids not only need to know the dangers and how to avoid them, they need to hear it often from you. And when it comes to pain medications, opioids, they need to know that they should never be taken without a prescription and never shared with friends or family. It's dangerous and illegal. So talk with your kids and guide them through the challenges of growing up safe and healthy. Because when you talk, they hear you. For more information about talking with your kids about underage use of alcohol and other drugs, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
So talk, they hear you. You can do it if you try.
It's news, opinion, and insight at the speed of your life. Streaming at 560theanswer.com on the AM 560 mobile app, or tell your smart speaker to play The Answer Chicago.
Good morning. It's 70 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. The White House says sanctuary cities will be increasingly targeted by ICE.
Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said President Trump is securing the homeland, noting not a single illegal alien was released into the U.S. last month.
According to newly released numbers, last month, Border Patrol saw a 93% decrease of illegal aliens crossing the southwest border between ports of entry from May 2024 under Joe Biden, when they encountered more than 117,000 illegal aliens.
She added Homeland Security is ramping up efforts to arrest and deport the millions of illegal aliens that former President Biden let in. There were initial anti-ICE protests in Los Angeles when the immigration operations began, but they have since died down. I'm Mark Mayfield.
A federal judge is blocking President Trump from tying states' transportation funding to immigration enforcement.
The judge in Providence, Rhode Island, granted a request from 20 Democratic-led states to bar the administration from implementing the policy. The plan would force the states to cooperate with immigration authorities in order to get billions in transportation grant funding. The states argued the plan is unlawful and the U.S. Transportation Secretary lacks the authority to impose such conditions on funding. In the injunction, the judge said the states were likely to succeed on the merits of their claims. I'm Chris Coraggio.
This news update's quickly delivered to you by Quick Delivery Service. Why are you sitting in Friday traffic? Time is money. When you need your important items delivered quickly, Quick Delivery Service will be there to pick it up and take it to its destination. Go to quickdelivery.com. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Mike Gallagher is witnessing evil.
A guy from Egypt screaming Free Palestine named Mohammed, lighting Jews on fire in Boulder, Colorado, and CNN is upset at calling what appears to be an obvious terror attack a terror attack. My gosh, this is what we're up against. We're up against a brand of evil that we've never seen before.
The Mike Gallagher Show, weekdays at 9, right before Charlie Kirk at 11 on AM 560. The Answer.
Whew, that shot was money, Lisa. Hey, speaking of, did you ever figure out what to do with your parents' old coin collection?
Not yet. I need a reputable dealer to appraise them. I have no clue what they're worth.
I just finished working on my dad's estate collections. I took it all to Fox Valley Coins. Their customer service was the best. Plus, they're super honest and reputable, but most importantly, experienced. They'll give you the best prices.
Really? They handle estate collections?
Absolutely. Buying, selling, appraising, they do it all. It was quick and simple, and we maintained our privacy. Fox Valley Coins made the whole process easy.
That's exactly what I need. Are they local?
Right in Naperville. They have an easy website to remember. FoxValleyCoins.com.
Perfect. Now let's see if you can return this shot.
Whether buying or selling or just want valuation, Fox Valley Coins is your trusted gold and silver dealer. Visit Fox Valley Coins, 1 light north of I-88 on Route 59 at the Naperville-Warrenville border. FoxValleyCoins.com. Family-owned integrity since 1981.
Welcome back to Ask Hasslis. I'm Weston. What's your question?
How do you get pee out of an old mattress?
Well,
I'm asking for a friend.
The best way to remove urine from a mattress is to trade in that old mattress for a new Beautyrest or Sealy Posturepedic.
But that'll cost a lot of money.
Not at Hasslis Mattress. Through Monday, trade in your old mattress and get additional savings of $248 off a queen and $348 off a king. And that's on top of our everyday low prices.
Come on, everybody says lowest prices.
Others sell a Sealy Posturepedic Queen Emeryville A mattress for $1268. Hasslis sells it for $1034. But through Monday, it's just $786. And check out the low prices on Beautyrest and more. Plus, free next day delivery.
What does my friend do with his old soaked mattress?
We haul it away for pee.
What was that?
Sorry, I meant for free.
Sure you did.
Open 9 to 9. Find an employee-free showroom near you at Hasslis.com.
Stop feeling embarrassed about thinning hair and start looking and feeling your best with Hair Grow by New Nordic. Available online at Amazon, Walmart.com, and NewNordicUSA.com, or at your local CVS.
From the Team Hawkburg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 15 minutes. Outbound, 14 minutes. On the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Burn Interchange, 17 minutes. Outbound, about 28 minutes. On the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 19 minutes. Outbound, 20 minutes. On the Stevenson inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, 21 minutes. Outbound is about 25 minutes. This report is sponsored by Macy's Backstage. Macy's Backstage is a whole new floor inside your Macy's store. And right now you'll find the latest summer styles, all for under $25, with new arrivals every day. You never know what amazing deals you'll find, so don't wait. Find a location at Macy'sBackstage.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now check for your forecast from the National Weather Service.
We've got some sun and clouds today with a couple of brief midday showers. It'll be warm and breezy this afternoon with high up to 86. Partly cloudy, warm and humid tonight with low 73. Mostly sunny tomorrow, windy with a high 97. I'm Ruth O'Brien on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Welcome back to the Morning Answer. You know, what happens in D.C. doesn't always stay in D.C., especially when you have bold leaders like my good friend, Michigan State Representative Joseph Aragona. He's bringing those conversations back home. This week, the rep joined his fellow lawmakers in our nation's capital for the Michigan State Leadership Conference, where they met directly with senior officials in the Trump administration. They met with Secretary Lutnick, Secretary Kennedy, Secretary Turner, and Secretary McMahon. I mean, they talked anything from trade to health, education to housing. You know, the thing about it, these aren't just talking points. They're the pillars of the America First agenda. And I know this, at being on this radio show for the last 6 months, Michigan is ready to lead under the leadership of Speaker Matt Hall. Rep, welcome to The Morning Answer.
Thank you. Appreciate you having me on. Yeah, it was a great experience being out in D.C. You know, my colleagues and I got to be directly at the Eisenhower Executive Office building, which is right next to the West Wing. And I really appreciate the Trump administration taking the time to meet with my colleagues and I, and with the speaker, just on the Trump administration's, you know, their points, the things that they need that they're trying to get done, the America First agenda, and then obviously just take questions from us and just to see how we can fit into that playbook, and then also to kind of see what we're seeing on the ground as well in Michigan, so that they can understand what's going on back here in our home state.
And Representative, I know you guys spoke with Secretary Lutnick, who I just adore, and I know he's emphasized rebuilding the American industry. Were there any trade policies or opportunities that were discussed that could help revitalize Michigan's, especially in their manufacturing and automotive policies?
Yeah, we obviously, I mean, we discussed the auto industry for quite some time, obviously being from Michigan. But, you know, his high level discussion was basically just about the tariffs, right?
Yeah.
And what he was going over was, you know, look, this 25% tariff, that's not meant to make revenue. That's meant to drive jobs back to the United States. That's meant to drive jobs back to Michigan, because they've been leaving, and America hasn't been first the last couple of decades. And that's what they're trying to do. And that's what they're trying to defend. They're trying to defend Michigan. They're trying to help us grow. So he was an incredibly smart guy. I mean, to hear him talk and to understand kind of where he's come from and how he breaks down arguments, he was a very interesting fellow to talk to.
Yeah, he is super sharp. Did you feel like you came out of that? Oh, by the way, Mike Coolidge here. Nice to meet you, Representative.
Hey, Mike. Good to meet you.
Did you feel like you can come back to your constituents in Michigan and say that things are going to get better if one of the versions of this bill gets through? I know it's not in your house. We're talking about the U.S. Congression, you know, the Senate and the House, and getting that eventually. But the big beautiful bill, however it winds up where the chips fall, how is that going to help Michigan?
Yeah, I think there's a number of different things that all the secretaries talked about, and at some point they each kind of mentioned the big beautiful bill and something that they were working on that was in there. You know, something that I'm specifically working on in the House is housing, right? How do we put more housing units on the market? And that's something that Secretary Turner really mentioned and was really touching on, and something that he's trying to push. Obviously, all different types of housing, and he's got a lot of different types of housing programs, but, you know, he's really trying to push, you know, getting housing on the market, really trying to unleash developers, allowing them to put housing units on the market quickly and efficiently without a lot of red tape. And those are things that are in that one big beautiful bill. And that's actually things that we're trying to do here in Michigan. We'll have things coming out in the fall on that. So I think that's something that we can really touch on here in Michigan. And I think that's a lot of what our building community is going to appreciate at the federal level, and then obviously here in Michigan in the fall at the state level.
You know, Representative, I know that part of the policy agenda that you guys are pushing out is school choice and local control as it relates to education. What was it like speaking to Secretary McMahon about returning control back to educators and parents and local communities. Were there any? Did they discuss school choice or the curriculum reform at all?
Yeah, there's quite a bit of that. And to be honest, I'm not a parent. So it was very interesting for me to hear how much red tape is even at that with different types of, for instance, like accreditations, even in higher education, types of facilities and things like that. So it was very interesting for me to learn about those types of things. That's definitely one of my weaker points. So I was definitely learning a lot there. So she was very, very, very smart. One of the things that I didn't realize is she kind of looked and said, down the street is the Department of Education. The average bureaucrat there is making double what an average teacher salary is in Michigan. So where are our tax dollars actually being served and where are they actually going? And that's really kind of puts it in perspective, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's really what she was hitting on was there's a lot of red tape. There's a lot of kind of a bureaucratic mess on who can accredit you both at, a lower level and even at a higher level when you get into like these collegiate institutions. But then where are your tax dollars actually going? If your tax dollars are going to educate children, that's great. But how much of your tax dollars are actually going to educate children? And that's really what we have to look at and kind of drill down on.
Yeah, and Representative, before I get to the next question, I should have said this at the onset. How are the people of Macomb County doing? I know there was just a tragedy that happened there with the weather. Is everybody okay? Everybody doing well there?
Yeah, I appreciate you asking that. We're all doing good. Just south of me in Fraser is where that tornado touched down. We have had some damage, but everybody seems to be going okay, save for a couple of flooded basements here and there. But other than that, everybody seems to be doing all right.
Representative, what does it mean to you that Michigan lawmakers are invited into these rooms? Do you believe the country is starting to take notice of what you guys are doing here in Michigan as a partner in the national recovery to bring and make America great again?
Yeah, I really do, and I think that I think that the Trump administration clearly isn't forgetting about Michigan. I think that the Trump administration sees Michigan is the key to America's recovery. It's not just a place to pick up a couple of electoral votes and then you can forget about us for the next 4 years. It's they're realizing that we were the auto capital of the world, and they want us to be that again. They realize that we are one of the keys to aerospace and defense with all of the companies that we have here in Southeast Michigan surrounding aerospace and defense. We have some of the most fresh water in the entire world here in Michigan. So they see what a pivotal state we are. And I think that's why they're paying so close of attention to us.
You probably know my friend Steve Gruber, who does radio in Michigan. Yeah, he and I were lucky enough to go into the executive office building and broadcast from the White House a couple of years ago. It was right before the USMCA. He got to interview President Trump because President Trump definitely values Michigan, and campaigned in Michigan a bit more than he did here in Illinois, where we live. But one thing we did not see was the giant construction and new flags that have been installed in the White House. You got a right in-person view of that yesterday, and also the people were bellyaching about the Rose Garden. It's being adjusted a little bit to make room for some things. Give us the word picture of that from what you saw there yesterday.
It was. First of all, I'd never actually been in the White House, so I kind of had my business suit on. I was going in like, all right, we got these business meetings, and then once you make it past the security gate, you kind of start to tingle a little bit, like, holy smokes, I'm actually in the White House for a business meeting. This is, I'm starting to get the chills a little bit here, So to kind of see everything, to see all the history of the building, to see what's going on there. I even got to check out the press room and the Oval Office at one point. So it was pretty cool. And to be honest, I was a little awestruck on all of it. So.
Yeah, I know that's what it was when I was there last. I was there in February. I'll be back in July. There's another roundtable that I'll be a part of in July. Representative, one last question. Where are we standing with the fiscal year 26 budget? I know there's a lot of back and forth going on right now about a lot of the earmarks, and you spoke about getting rid of the wasteful spending, things like the coffee maker, the $4,500 coffee maker. Speak to the people of Michigan as to, because you guys do budgeting different than we do here in Illinois. Only one party is in control of the budgeting. Republicans have no say in how the budget is done. I know you guys do have conversations with the other side of the aisle. Where do we stand on fiscal year 26 budget? Do you think it's going to pass in time?
Yeah, so I think we're coming back next week to get our budgets out. I don't think we're going to actually have a budget on the governor's desk by July 1. We might, but, it might take a little longer than that. Speaking of this $4,500 coffee maker, I don't know if you saw, but the person who bought that $4,500 coffee maker, the attorney general of this state, actually served some warrants on that particular person, as well as a few others at the MEDC, to take some of their cell phones and some other things to do some investigation. So that was kind of interesting. So I think there's going to be some more breaking on that here in the next couple of weeks and months. But as far as the budget process goes, we did pass our K through 12 budget. We also passed our higher ed budgets last week. This next week, out of the House, we'll be passing our some of our other budgets for the other departments. So we'll get that out. And at that point, as you said, Illinois, it's more of a uniparty. You pass a budget. With us here in Michigan, at that point, that's when we're going to sit down with the Senate, which, some of those discussions have already been happening, and really hammer out the final details. The problem is, the Senate already passed their budget, but it's unconstitutional. They overspent by $1 billion, and they also have line items that clearly it shows that they wanted to spend more money. So they didn't really do exactly the greatest job in the world. They did a great job for the lobbyists, because, I'm sure they sat there and spent what they were asked to spend, but they didn't exactly cut where they needed to cut. So the adults are in the room now. We're going to do our best to pass a fiscally responsible budget. And at that point, we're also going to, negotiate with them to say, all right, what is it going to take to actually get this to the governor's desk?
Yeah. Well, Representative, I know you're pressed for time. I want to thank you so much again for joining us today. I always thoroughly enjoy your conversation. I don't know if you're going to be in the Detroit area, but I'll be there this Sunday until Tuesday. I'm doing a pastor's breakfast with Pastor Lorenzo Sewell up in the Michigan area this weekend, on Tuesday, rather.
Good
guy.
Oh, you want to say something, Mike?
No. I didn't want to interrupt, but hopefully you can make that. I just wanted to ask Joe, are the Tigers for real?
They beat us.
We're a little bit of a younger team, but I think we are. I mean, I think people are asking that right now, but after the All-Star break, I think when we're winning a couple of weeks after the All-Star break, I think people are going to go from, are they for real, to, you know what, the Tigers are for real. I think that's when people are going to really realize it.
They have the best record in baseball.
Yeah, they
by
beat
a lot.
us. They beat the Cubs. So Rep, I was at all three games between the Cubs and Tigers, and I caught, because I wore my Trump that I'm having on right now, Trump Van shirt on. I caught a lot of grief, but I got more people. But who is that stud of a pitcher you guys have? Scooby.
Skubal.
Oh my goodness.
He should just get the Cy Young right now.
Yes, he is amazing, sir.
Yeah,
really
he lights out.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much, Representative. Aragona. He represents the Michigan 60th House District. Thanks so much for joining us on The Morning Answer.
No problem. Thanks, guys.
We'll be right back.
Connect with Dan and Amy on the AM 560 The Answer mobile app. Just text the word app to 64636 to download the app today. Gain gaining insight into building strong marriages and raising godly children with Focus on the Family with Jim Daly each weekday at 11:30 a.m. on our sister station, AM 1160. Hope for your life.
Perhaps you're a collector, or perhaps all of a sudden you have a collection. Maybe it's an inheritance. How do you know what it's worth? This is Sean Thompson for Donley Auction. The market for antiques and collectibles is changing all the time. What is your collection worth right now? Well, I've got an easy way to find out. It's simple. You contact Donley Auctions with their worldwide audience of live and in-person auctions. They have a good idea of how to tell you exactly what it's worth at exactly right now. They're ready to put top dollar in your pocket. The bigger the collection, the better. Go to DonleyAuctions.com and get the info on all things that they buy and sell to have an idea of exactly what Donley does and how much they need your collection. They have so many buyers, it's a great time to sell. Just simply make a phone call. Donley has traveled all over the country to pick up collections. Just call and talk to the people at Donley Auctions at 815-923-7000. Donley Auctions is your trusted partner in turning your collections into cash. DonleyAuctions.com.
When a tree comes down, it doesn't just make a mess. It can crush your home, a car, cause serious injury, or worse. If you're seeing dead or hanging branches, your tree could be a ticking time bomb. Don't wait until it's too late. Call Abbott Tree Care, the emergency tree removal experts. That's ABBOTT. We're trusted across the western suburbs. On call 24/7, fully insured, and ready to respond fast after any storm. Whether it's a downed tree, tree trimming, or tree removal, Abbott Tree Care does the job right. Safely, professionally, and without cutting corners. Protect your home. Protect your family. Call Abbott Tree Care now for a free estimate at 630-681-8733 and tell them AM 560 sent you. Again, that's 630-681-8733 or go to AbbottTreeCare.com. That's ABBOTT treecare.com. Abbott Tree Care. When danger's hanging over your head, we're here when you need us most.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Third day. The original members reunited for the 30th anniversary tour, playing all the hits. With special guest Zach Williams. Tickets available Friday, June 27th at AwakeningFoundation.com. Third day, the 30th anniversary tour.
You just call my name.
An Awakening Foundation event.
Now there's a new way to take charge of your blood sugar. Introducing New Garlic Healthy Blood Sugar Formula from the makers of the nation's best-selling garlic supplement. New Garlic helps maintain healthy blood sugar levels with clinically supported levels of garlic, plus a custom blend of vitamins and minerals, and it's odor-free. Take charge of your blood sugar with New Garlic Healthy Blood Sugar Formula. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Use as directed.
The Cane Table from Penny Mustard is more than just a table.
It's hosted countless brunches.
It's where important documents are signed.
And where family meetings are held.
It's headquarters for homework,
craft projects,
board games,
and the wrapping of various gifts.
It's not about food.
It's about memories.
So it's gotta last.
It will, for generations to come.
The Cane Dining Room Table with 6 encore chairs starting at $61.97 at Penny Mustard.
7 locations throughout Chicagoland.
PennyMustard.com.
Don't miss In Grace with Pastor Jim Scudder Jr., now heard on Sunday mornings at 7:30. Tune in and find hope as Jim Scudder explores God's Word and His world each Sunday morning right here on AM 560, The Answer. AM 560, The Answer.
Welcome back to the Morning Answer. I'm John Anthony. He's Mike Coolidge. Mike, I'm telling you, man, I've been able to interview so many of those Michigan legislators and what they're doing in Michigan. They were in the dark for a couple of years, with Michigan in the House, Senate, and the governorship, Secretary of State. I think the tide is turning in Michigan right now. And
it's encouraging to hear.
It gives me hope, especially for, no, let's not talk about that. Let's talk about what you guys are doing. Let's use this segment to talk about what you're doing.
Oh, sure. The Citizen Farmers. So we have been around for a couple of years now, started in Illinois, grew to Wisconsin and Michigan, and in a handful of other states too. But those are the 3 states where we have the biggest presence in. And we're trying to turn Illinois red and keep Wisconsin and Michigan red.
Yeah.
What we do is we fund the grassroots infrastructure of getting out unreliable voters, specifically unreliable Republican voters. There's so many people who vote just in the presidential elections, and they take for granted the midterms and some of the local elections, but like the midterms next year, we've got to keep the House of Representatives and hopefully gain some Senate seats. But our organization, the Citizen Farmers, doesn't concentrate on issues, doesn't concentrate on candidates. We specifically help fund the grassroots efforts.
And what does that mean, fund the grassroots efforts? What are some of the things? Give an example of some of the things you guys are doing.
So in Illinois, we have what's called precinct committeemen, for people who don't know how the party works. And each precinct committeeman has a couple of hundred voters that they are responsible for connecting with. And rather than just have your name on a sheet saying, I'm a precinct committeeman, we fund a mechanism called the Battle Program that goes to these specific local organizations and trains them on how to connect a couple of times a year with voters to remind them what the issues are, what is important, and oh, by the way, there's an election coming up. You should probably vote. The Democrats, the left, have been doing this for years.
They have a whole operation.
It is an extremely detailed and like a clockwork operation. It's why we're disproportionately, we don't just think, we know, represented by Democrats in Illinois and in so many other states. If everyone voted and we went according to, the polls and just the makeup of our country, Republicans would win all the time.
Yeah.
So we just have to get those unreliable Republicans out to vote. Citizen Farmers are a group of people, and we have these great podcasts. We have these great speakers. We get together at each other's houses and connect with each other, and it is a really, really great organization which people should be a part of. TheCitizenFarmers.org is our website.
What has been the battle as it relates to the mail-in ballots, especially from the Republicans, conservatives, and especially grassroots? They're a little suspect of mail-in ballots. What has been that?
It's been a challenge, but we keep saying that we have to play by the rules that exist right now to beat them. If all of a sudden the NFL switches to 2-point conversions and extra points, if you have that option, and you were against 2-point conversions being an option after you score a touchdown, you would be stupid not to go for a 2-pointer sometimes, even though you were against doing it.
Yeah.
Mail-in ballots work. If you get them out early, it helps candidates so much, Republican candidates, if you vote early and get the mail-in ballot in so they can concentrate on the people who didn't vote yet. Democrats have known this for years. Republicans are
decades,
behind.
actually.
Yeah,
They've
for
been doing it
decades,
for decades.
yes. We can do that and then get into office and then eventually change it so it's not election season, have everyone vote in person. But we have to utilize the tools right now in order to win.
I agree. We want to thank the Michigan crowd, 92.7 and AM 1400, for joining us today. Now we go back to our regularly scheduled program of the Chicago Morning Answer. I can call it Chicago's Morning Answer after this break. And thank you guys so much. We'll be right back.
News, opinion, insight. This is AM 560, The Answer. WIND, Chicago. Streaming at 560theanswer.com on the AM 560 mobile app, or tell your smart speaker to play The Answer Chicago.
Iran is ready to talk. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. That's what an official tells Reuters, that they are willing to discuss limitations on uranium enrichment. President Trump keeps insisting they give it up, saying he won't allow Iran to build nuclear weapons.
And he is this afternoon going to be sitting down, meeting with his National Security Council, as he will continue to do so throughout the weekend. This is as this timeline has been set, this 2 weeks for Iran to opt for a diplomatic route, an off-ramp out of this whole thing.
Fox's Alexandria Hoff at the White House. That conflict is a week old now.
The Israeli military says their fighter jets are back in the air right now over central and western Iran, striking targets.
Fox's Mike Tobin in Tel Aviv.
The head of the International Atomic Agency spoke exclusively to Fox News. He said Iran had enough uranium for several bombs and was just a quick step away from enriching to weapons grade. However, he says Iran had not begun the final steps to make a bomb.
Iran launched more missiles at Israel, and one got through the Iron Dome defense and did damage, but no one was hurt. Hundreds of Americans who were stuck in Israel have gotten out, and they won't miss the missiles.
It'd be like at 1 o'clock, 12 o'clock in the morning, and you just have to go straight to the bomb shelters. and you have to hide because all you can hear is just boom, boom, boom.
A second flight chartered by Florida Governor Ron DeSantis landed this morning. The National Guard troops President Trump deployed to Los Angeles can stay after an appeals court ruled, and he called a great decision on Truth Social, that the president was within his authority to federalize those troops to deal with protests against his illegal immigration raids. California's Democratic governor says he'll keep challenging the deployment. Another ruling went against the president.
U.S. District Judge John McConnell is siding with 20 states who sued the Trump administration over requirements that they cooperate with ICE in exchange for billions of dollars in funding for roads, airports, and other infrastructure. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy had warned in April that his department may cut off the congressionally appropriated grants.
That's Fox's Tanya J. Powers. America's listening to Fox News.
Good morning. It's 73 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. A group of Chicago City Council members are calling on CTA officials to enforce a smoking ban. Perry Williams reports.
34th Ward Alderman Bill Conway introduced a resolution that would pressure the local transportation agency to address rude riders. This respiratory health advocate had this to say.
To be clear, it's against the law to smoke and vape on the CTA. When people ignore the law and smoke, they are putting at risk the health of Chicagoans, but particularly those living with asthma and a host of other lung diseases.
CTA officials contend that they have issued more than 6,300 citations for smoking in 2023.
Mayor Johnson's national search for the new head of the Chicago Transit Authority is under scrutiny. The Chicago Tribune says reports show that the mayor never initiated a search. The CTA's been without a leader since former President Dorval Carter resigned earlier this year. In response, the mayor's office says they've looked at candidates who are currently leaders of mass transit agencies. The Johnson administration says it reached out to 3 leaders of agencies across the nation, but none of them were interested in doing a formal interview. The Tribune also reported that State Representative Cam Buckner was offered the job but turned it down. 20 full-time staff members at Columbia College Chicago were laid off. The Downtown Art School announced this week the move was made as part of planned cuts to academic programs. Columbia College is faced with a $38 million budget deficit. News is a service of Team Hochberg. They've helped thousands of AM 560 listeners with the best rates and service. Let Team Hochberg help you by visiting 56david.com or call 855-563-2843. That's 56david.com, lower.com, equal housing lender, NMLS 1124061. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes, but now time for the Signature Bank Business Beat.
I'm Maria Bartiromo, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Wall Street is back to trading again after the Juneteenth holiday. Bank of America Global Research is raising its forecast for stocks. It's seeing resilience in global growth despite the Iran-Israel conflict and the trade disputes. CarMax shares up more than 9%. The used car seller reported a better than expected quarter. Audi is considering building a new plant in the southern U.S. Reports in Germany say Audi, a unit of Volkswagen, is looking to avoid import tariffs, though building a new plant would be the more expensive option out of various scenarios it's considering. Tesla shares are up 1%. It is the last trading day before Sunday's scheduled robo-taxi launch. The launch is expected to be small with a limited number of cars. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Jenny Coselda. Invested in you.
Larry Elder addresses our debt.
Here's the problem. Both parties spend money. They may have different priorities, but both parties spend money. The other big problem is that much of the government spending is on automatic pilot. By that, I'm talking about Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security.
The Larry Elder Show. Weeknights at 8, right before Sean Hannity at 10 on AM 560. The Answer.
Wow. At the time of this being written, both gold and silver are up some 40%. That's 40% in just 1 year. In fact, this past year, gold has broken all-time historic records by hundreds of dollars an ounce. And unlike all other financial instruments used today, that historic record goes back thousands of years. In times like these, prices have never been better on most collector and gold coins. Fox Valley Coins in Naperville is trying to keep up with demand. So they're paying the most ever on not only most gold coins and bars, but also those old coin and paper money collections. They're especially looking for the scarcer dates and higher grade coins. Take advantage of the record high market price and our huge demand now, whether you're buying or selling, or just want to find out their worth. Fox Valley Coins is the place to go. Fox Valley Coins is on Route 59, just one light north of I-88 at the Naperville-Warrenville border. Family-owned, integrity since 1981.
When you're hiring, have you ever felt like you're missing out on meeting truly great candidates for your roles? It seems impossible to find them, but they have to be out there somewhere, right? Well, they're not hard to find when you know where to go, and that place is ZipRecruiter. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day. And because these people are actively looking for jobs just like yours, it's easy to find the right person right away. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. But if you're not using ZipRecruiter, you're missing out. So see what it's like when the impossible is easy. When you go to ZipRecruiter.com/free right now to try ZipRecruiter for free. Once again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free. Never miss out on great candidates with ZipRecruiter.
From the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. Not bad on the Edens, 15 minutes. Inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, about 15 minutes outbound. On the Kennedy, inbound from Montrose to the Burton Interchange, 18 minutes. Outbound, about 40 minutes. Now on the Eisenhower, inbound from Wolf to the old post office, about 18 minutes. Outbound, about 21 minutes. On the Stevenson, inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, 21 minutes. Outbound, about 17 minutes. And on the Dan Ryan, inbound from 95th to the Burn Interchange, about 13 minutes. Outbound, about 12 minutes. And on the Chicago Skyway, east and westbound side from Indiana State Line to the Dan Ryan, about 7 minutes, 4 minutes the other direction. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
For today, we've got sun and clouds with a couple of brief midday showers. It'll be warm and breezy this afternoon with a high up to 86. Partly cloudy, warm and humid tonight with a low 73. Mostly sunny, windy tomorrow with a high 97. I'm Ruth O'Brien on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Good morning, Chicago. John Anthony, host of Detroit's Morning Answer and Black and White Radio, joining you this morning with my good friend Mike Coolidge for the last, 3 hours of radio?
Yes. 3 hours. Flew by. Feels like we just started, John.
I mean, it just flew by. And I've had a good time. We've tackled a lot of different issues. Iran, what's happening in Michigan legislators, going to the White House. We've talked about why Republicans should reconsider looking into Juneteenth.
Yes. We also asked an intriguing question, which we might ask again to the callers, which is, which would have been worse, Hillary Clinton winning in 2016 or Kamala Harris winning in 2024? Which would have been worse? You have to choose one. Which would have been worse?
That's kind of hard for me to do. I just simply can't. Because as I was embarking on my answer, I had to stop and think, wait, but what about what happens with Kamala winning? And then Hillary, it's a hard place to be, man, to answer that question. And we'll pose that question in the open mic Friday and see how many people let us know which one they prefer.
Which would have been worse?
Yeah, our next guest is I'm telling you, there are police chiefs and then there are police chiefs. And Thomas Weitzel, he served with the Riverside PD from 1984. He was promoted to chief in 2008, and he retired. Such a smart man. In 2021, he had over 37 years in law enforcement. And, I don't know if you guys remember, but Chief Weitzel was shot in the chest doing a routine. I hate that word, routine, because nothing about a traffic stop is routine. Every time I hear a news reporter say routine traffic stop, there's nothing routine about a traffic stop. Every single one of them is different. But in 1987, and his bulletproof vest saved his life. And that event, I know it changed him as a person. I know friends who've been shot, friends who have lost their lives in the line of duty. And so I wanted to bring him on. Chief Weitzel, welcome back to Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hey, thanks for having me. Good morning, John and Mike. I'm glad to be on with you.
I mean, there's so many different avenues we can take this conversation with you because your Twitter feed has just been on fire lately as it relates to everything that's happening in the city of Chicago. But, you recently said that statements from the mayor, Brandon Johnson, that they could incite violence against ICE agents and police. Can you share what type of experience or data led you to that strong language?
Yeah, the ICE itself just released information that assaults on their officers or their agents is up over 400%. And I'm still, all my adult children are police officers, and I know individuals that are in either federal task forces or work for the FBI or other federal organizations, and they're being targeted and they're being doxxed, and they're having their public information, private information, put out publicly, such as their face, such as their home addresses, that's out there, and it's being purposely put out by activists. But the shocking thing is it's now being purposely put out by politicians, by our elected officials. They're actually doxing federal agents, which I find I've never seen that in my 37 years in law enforcement before I retired. I've never seen a public official do that. They've disagreed with police, and they've had our arguments, but to do that is a different level.
Yeah. I remember when I was a legislator, I actually filed a bill that the ACLU put an end to. It was basically to do for police officers, teachers, and I forget which the other crowd that I introduced it to. Just as judges, you can't find a judge's home address online or anything like that. And I wanted to afford that same opportunity to police officers. Well, Representative Nicole Laha, she's basically taken that bill and introduced it and added a lot more people because of what just recently happened in Minnesota. Chief, you've had to commandeer you've led many men as a police chief. How important is a bill like that protects the identity? There's no trace of police officers, pertinent information online, or you can't find it anywhere. The same as judges. How important is a piece of legislation like that for the men and women who serve and protect our streets?
Yeah, it's essential, especially for federal agents and officers that are in task forces, because they're dealing with violent crime every day. They have this thing where they wanted us as local police to live in our communities we police, right? And Illinois was a real good example. A lot of communities, you're required to live in the community you police, or like within 5 miles of the city hall or the village hall. So they would know you'd have a connection to the community, and now they want to turn around and they want to in a negative way, put the officers' information out there so that people can confront you. People can confront you at restaurants. They can confront you on the street. They can march in front of your home because they don't like what you did or what the perception is you stand for. And these are the officers protecting and serving the community that you hired them for, and now the elected officials are going to put you out there in a negative manner. I think it's extremely dangerous.
Chief Mike Coolidge here. I've got a question for you about swatting. Swatting is when someone, for listeners that don't know, calls the police and fakes that something is happening at a target's house, like let's say they don't like Mike Coolidge, and they say, hey, Mike Coolidge is beating his wife right now, and we heard it from next door, and he is doing something crazy. You guys need to go there and take care of it right now. Or worse. And either a SWAT team comes in or the police come and with guns ablaze sometimes if it's something very dangerous, and it turns out to be fake and phony. It just is a way to harass people, whatever. Kash Patel, the head of the FBI, said on Joe Rogan podcast not too long ago that he was swatted. My question is there anything at a police station or at a high level that can be done without legislation, just some kind of policy where it's like, wait, like, can this be checked ahead of time? Is there a way to confirm with certain people that who might be swatted or who were swatted previously that this isn't a legit thing? I just find that so hard to comprehend that swatting is still a thing. It still exists. And it's still tried to harass otherwise, law-abiding people who just happen to have the wrong politics, according to the people calling the SWAT.
Yeah, that's a really good point, and it is still happening for sure. And the police agencies have pulled back their response somewhat. Initially, years ago, when the swatting was hitting a high, they would send everybody right away because the police, honestly, you didn't want to be criticized for not reacting right away. Right? You wanted to overreact and then underreact because the police rarely get criticized for overreacting. It's underreacting. But what happened is we had one when I was in Riverside where they did it to the high school. And we sent multiple police agencies, not just Riverside, our neighboring agencies. It looked like we had a war zone we had taken over, and it was completely false. Then we pulled back and said, we're not going to do this anymore. When these calls come in, we'll send an officer to assess it, and then we'll start making phone calls to the high school immediately or a private residence. So we kind of pulled it back because we were doing more harm than we were what we wanted to accomplish. People would see all these police cars responding, lights and siren, big deal. And that's what the caller wanted, a huge inconvenience, evacuate the high school or evacuate the house. We had an elected official also have that done, a county elected official. And so I know we did, and I think most agencies have kind of tempered that now. It's not that they don't go, but they don't go with everybody.
Well, I'll tell you, House Bill 3988 was actually my House bill. I was the first person in Illinois to put a financial responsibility to the person who gets caught doing the swatting back in 2015 because I actually responded when I was a sheriff's deputy. I responded to a call. The kids were upset that he got beat in the video game, called and said that this kid was shooting up the house. He killed his mom, he killed his dad, and he was telling him he's going to come kill him. So, we're going, it. We're doing, I'm on one side of the county of Kendall County, having to get to the other side of the county, and I'm doing about 85, 90 miles an hour to get there when it was safe to do so. And we get there, we all got our long guns out, and as soon as we see there's a light on, so immediately we're like, wait a minute, something's not right here. So we all have our long guns out. Some, people are posting up tactically, and two of us approached the door, ring the doorbell. It became my call, and come to find out it was a prank call. So now I wanted it more. I wanted the bill to say whatever the costs associated for the police responding to that house, how many officers that were there, any other resources that were used, that person would have to pay that back, because I just felt like the more the penalty was, the less people would do it. And so there was a lot of fanfare about it. So you're right, Chief. It's such an important tool that, and I think law enforcement needs way more tools. They don't need the Safety Act. And Chief, you've talked, ad nauseum about this Safety Act. Is there anybody out there going to challenge this law, Chief?
Yeah, I used to wish we could get rid of the law, and I've come to the realization that's not happening. So I've taken up this position that it needs to be amended. There needs to be some common sense in there, and I think we're getting more and more, at least people that will sign on to. There needs to be some changes. One of the huge things that I put in is I just can't get my head around that police officers can be severely battered and injured for aggravated battery of a police officer, and you can walk out the door on a notice to appear. That is not a mandatory jailable offense at first appearance court. And it keeps happening over and over again. And there needs to be some changes or updates to that statute. I'm hoping that will somebody will have the appetite, especially on the Democratic side, because let's face it, in Illinois, if the Democrats don't support changes in that Safety Act, currently it's not going to happen.
Chief, the mayor of Chicago, Brandon Johnson, as you know, they're trying to pass an ordinance, a curfew ordinance. I do know that he said it passed. He did say he's going to veto it. I want you to hear his explanation of it. Personally, I got to say on the onset, I don't think this ordinance should pass. Also, I think they should allow the police to do their jobs to maintain the order, to bring order to chaos. But that's just me. That's neither here nor there.
Every freaking day, I'm raising children in this city. I know what it's like to feel unsafe and to be targeted. We have to stop as a city falling to some of the most ridiculous remedial forms of governance. It has not worked. And now we're doing stuff that works, and then they want to come up with another idea that has not worked. What sense does that make? I'm saying ask deeper, more profound questions about why young people are gathering in spaces in the first place. That's why I was up to freaking midnight on Saturday night, out, hanging out with some of the young people at the late night basketball, showing up for these young brothers. They all could be my son. They can all be my nephews.
Chief, listen, I'm not going to say that going to basketball games is going to solve the epidemic of crime in Chicago. But what's your take on this curfew ordinance that's being passed?
Well, I would tell the mayor it's the frickin' police that are responding and handling this, too. That's the first thing I'd tell him.
The frickin' police.
I would say is that I wasn't for it. I found it very strange or maybe enlightening that the superintendent said he never asked for the legislation. He doesn't like the legislation. He publicly stated that. And my initial problem with that was it's after the fact, right? So when they would enact the temporary curfew, they've already gathered, they're already downtown, they're already causing chaos. My answer was what you said earlier. Let the police do their job. Did you notice they never mentioned making arrests?
No.
Taking the juveniles into custody? That's what needs to be done. And maybe that needs to be done on a mass. They need to take hundreds, because there's hundreds of these kids down there, and then maybe things would slow down. Writing letters to the school districts and the parents isn't doing it either.
No. Well, Chief Wetzel, we got to leave it right there. I want to thank you for coming on Chicago's Morning Answer with Mike and I. I always love your commentary. I've watched your X account. Where can people follow you on X?
It's at Chief Weitzel, at ChiefWeitzel. All
right. He's former Riverside Police Chief Thomas Weitzel. Thanks so much for joining us. And he joined us on our Turnkey.Pro answer line.
Hear about the big stories of the day, then talk about them right here on Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
When you're hiring, have you ever felt like you're missing out on meeting truly great candidates for your roles? It seems impossible to find them, but they have to be out there somewhere, right? Well, they're not hard to find when you know where to go, and that place is ZipRecruiter. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day. And because these people are actively looking for jobs just like yours, it's easy to find the right person right away. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. But if you're not using ZipRecruiter, you're missing out. So see what it's like when the impossible is easy. When you go to ZipRecruiter.com/free right now to try ZipRecruiter for free. Once again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free. Never miss out on great candidates with ZipRecruiter.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank that cares about your business and is invested in your success. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Hi, I'm Chris Johnson, CEO of Classic Cinemas and proud customer of Signature Bank. We are a local family-owned business that is known for free refills on all sizes of popcorn, soft drinks, and ices. With over 9,000 heated recliners in 16 locations, we marry the traditions of the past with today's state-of-the-art technology. Throw in a 30-minute guarantee and an after-movie mint, and you have the perfect night out. As we strive to make every guest our priority, Signature Bank does the same with their customers. The team at Signature Bank is interested in taking my company forward. They have all the resources and solutions of the big banks, but they customize their offerings to meet my business needs. The customer always comes first with Signature Bank.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Let Signature Bank turn your business vision into reality. Visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
AM 560. The Answer.
Open mic! Open mic Friday!
Welcome back to Chicago's Morning Answer. You hear that song? Justice's magnificent voice on Open Line Friday. And that leads us to the president of Turnkey.pro, David Kosak. What's up, my brother?
Well, good morning, Mike and John. This last week, I feel like I'm back in 2001 listening and watching all this coverage of this Iran conflict. You've got all these people banging the drum, begging us to get involved in yet another conflict in the Middle East. It's like we haven't seen this movie before, or that we're just too stupid to remember anything that happened in the past. I remember being a really young man living in 1991 in Los Angeles when George H.W. Bush made the address announcing Operation Desert Storm. I remember exactly where I was on Sunset Boulevard as there was talk of a draft going into effect, and I was of that age. So we had to protect Kuwait from Iraq and Saddam Hussein. At that time, we didn't know it, but Desert Storm was the precursor to Operation Iraqi Freedom that would later, would happen more than a decade later. But it was still a setup, a long game that gets played on us over and over. In December of 1990, just before Desert Storm, you had Benjamin Netanyahu, the same guy just 35 years ago on the Today Show, talking about how Saddam Hussein's nuclear program was accelerating fast. This is 1990. So we acted. Sounds fair enough. You can't have some madman have a nuclear weapon invading Kuwait. Does that sound familiar? As an aside here, I want to know, is there anyone around here who's actually seen a nuclear bomb test or an explosion? We've all seen that black and white video and the blast wiping out what looks to be a simulated town from the 50s. Remember that one? It looks devastating, right? So I know I've seen that video so many times, but my question is, if the bomb blast was so devastating, how did the camera survive? Just a question. Anyway, you've got Benjamin Netanyahu, the same guy again in 2002, testifying before Congress that there's no question Saddam Hussein has weapons of mass destruction and they're advancing towards a nuclear weapon. He's like a broken record. We took the bait, and trillions of dollars later and countless lives were lost on both sides, so many civilians. But the predicate for that conflict was based on what Bibi Netanyahu told us. Throughout the years of 2012 and 2015, he gave us multiple speeches, including one to 2015 in Congress again, where he warned Iran could break out toward a nuclear bomb once the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action restrictions expired back then. Rinse and repeat, Benjamin. Play the long game. In April 2018, Benjamin presented classified documents from Iran's atomic archive to Congress and stated firmly that Iran lied about never having a nuclear weapons program. At this point, we're watching history repeat itself. And what's funny is that it's the same guy over and over, Benjamin Netanyahu. He's like the little guy in your friend group who's always picking fights and relying on his tougher and bigger friends to finish the fight for him. He's like the Joe Pesci of Goodfellas, and you're the guy who's got to dig the hole. And what's funnier is that we keep falling for it, even after there were no weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. So here we sit watching and listening to expert after pundit after political analyst telling us why we need to strike Iran now and how this is a battle versus good and evil, and clearly it's our moral obligation to finish the job that they cannot do. Iran is bad, and we have to stop them from getting a nuke. Look at Libya. Look at Syria. Look at Afghanistan. That didn't go so well for us. The problem is that 9/11 happened, and that made most of us galvanized at the time go after Saddam Hussein in Iraq. It was a great reason to do so. I remember wanting to enlist myself. There was a real sense of anger and unity after George Bush took to his bullhorn at Ground Zero. However, right now we do not have a unifying event where our American angst is solely targeted at Iran. I think you need that. And at this point, if it happened, there would be a ton of skepticism that Iran actually did it. That's what's different today. I think Benjamin may have overplayed his hand here. Trump knows all about his history of lies and objectives, and then some. And we're going to find out if Trump will take the bait. I sure hope that he lets him fight his own fight, because at minimum, entering this new conflict will fracture Trump's support. We voted for no new wars. because there's not enough credible information here to put our American lives and our dollars at work, at least not yet. But look out for that false flag as it may be incoming, because they surely need it. So, guys, have a great weekend. It's great to hear you on the radio today.
All right. David Posak, president of Turnkey.pro. Thanks so much for joining us. Mike, the phone lines just lit up.
They did.
They did. All right, let's take your calls. Bob from Buffalo Grove. Welcome to Chicago's Morning Answer.
Good morning, John and Mike. Thanks for taking my call. And I was hoping to discuss this subject with Dan as he was discussing the Israeli-Iran conflict yesterday. So let me offer it to you, your thoughts. Dan seems to want to limit our involvement to the nuclear sites, and many people don't want to expand the war. Last night I was watching Carl Higbee on Newsmax, and he offered this comment. And then what? So the nuclear sites are destroyed. And then what? Hasn't Trump offered unconditional surrender by Iran? And will there be a real diplomatic solution? Or will this war continue on and on with Iran's continued quest for a nuclear program, nuclear bomb, and possibly their efforts into the far future wanting to still destroy Israel and expand it to us? Your thoughts?
Mike, thanks, Bob.
I think the answer to that question, not to oversimplify it, is what's next is, well, nothing on our part. What's next is a nuclear program that no longer exists. I don't pretend to be any sort of nuclear expert, but I do know that enriching uranium and the whole process it takes to figure out how to create a bomb. I mean, I watched Oppenheimer. That's probably the extent of my knowledge on nuclear bombs, but I think we can all agree it's a really, really long, elaborate process. If all of the facilities that they have going, that they promised not to continue doing, but they lied and did anyway, are destroyed, they're not going to just be able to rub a genie lamp and reconstitute all of their program. I mean, they're going to start from zero, which could take literally decades for them again to do it. So that I think it's over if either Israel or us destroys their facilities.
Here's the question. Would early 2000s Trump approve of 2025 Trump as it relate? You remember how he was so against the Iraq war? Mm-hmm. Would that President Trump have the same thoughts as he has as the 2025 now President Trump?
I know that Trump has said, and I don't know if this is true or not, but he's said, because this wasn't really an issue 20 years ago, but he says he's always been against Iran having a nuclear weapon. That he has been consistent about. I also know that he was for tariffs for his whole career too, which is accurate. You can look up. There's probably not a whole lot of you could do a LexisNexis search and see if he spoke about Iran, because it's not really been a hot issue, but I think he's been consistent.
I think what I'm saying is because of the intel of basically they're telling us, remember they told us Iraq had nuclear weapons.
WMDs,
the intel,
not nuclear, but weapons of mass destruction.
The intel. And when you look at the intel, Tulsi Gabbard, which some are saying that she's on the outsides now, and the intel is once again, not there. That President Trump, I'm saying, you think I just would love to know what he's thinking today, because he still hasn't really shown his hand as to what he's going to do. But I mean, I guess you could say, that's not true, because you started to see all these ships out moving into the Mediterranean and all these different areas.
I think, and again, if you're just joining us, my stance is his threat is real. By taking out Soleimani in his first term, he shows that he can pull the trigger if need be, but ultimately Israel's doing all of the work that needs to be done, and we won't have to do anything, hopefully.
All right, let's go Nick from the Northwest Side. Nick, welcome to Chicago's Morning Answer.
Yeah, thank you. You're doing a great job as usual.
Thank you.
And I like your co-host there.
Thank you.
I'm familiar with him, but he's doing a good job.
He's amazing.
I want to say that since I can remember, Khamenei, the current leader of Iran, and prior to that, Khomeini, who was exiled in a suburb of Paris and then came back to lead his people to greatness. Anyhow, the consistent interpretation of statements on their part, not crowds of people bust in like here, to cheer and rant and rave, but the consistent statements were that Israel is the little Satan, and death to Israel. America is the great
big
Satan.
one, the great Satan. Yeah.
Yeah. So what is it? Why isn't this brought more often by Trump and others too? That these people are fanatical. That the average person probably doesn't share that opinion and doesn't want to be bombed and be bombing anybody else, which means that, it becomes a war where that everybody gets hurt in.
Yeah.
But this got to be mentioned more often. So that's all I want to say. And doing a great job. And thank you.
Thank you, Nick. Let's go to Mike from Yorkville. Welcome to Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hey, John. Good morning. I just want to present a question, because we got to have a little more forethought in what's going on. As technology increases and we have better advancements and everything goes on, sooner or later, let's go ahead and fess up to ourselves. People like Iran and other countries just like them, or people we don't want to have nuclear weapons, they're going to have them. What is the long-term plan on how to deal with countries like this, or people that we don't see eye to eye that might be wanting to be able to pull the trigger, as we would say, because we have to face it. Technology is going to make it easier for them to acquire it and make it.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate the call. Let's go to, you see what I'm doing. I'm keeping your question people on the line. Let's go to Lucy from Indiana. Lucy, welcome to Chicago's Morning Answer, Open Line Friday.
Yeah. Thank you for taking my call. The gentleman from Turnkey, excellent. Thank you.
David
Very
Kolsak.
good point. I want to add just one more point. Do you know that Iran and North Korea are not part of this Rockefeller New World Order banking system?
Oh.
Is that why? Perhaps
That's interesting,
things
Lucy.
are going, hey, yeah, interesting.
Thank you so much for the call, Lucy. Let's go to the PM, the Prime Minister.
Oh, Mr. Anthony and this wonderful Mike Coolidge. Coolidge, are you heir to the silent Calvin Coolidge fortune?
Great question. The Business of America is business. Calvin Coolidge spelled his name incorrectly. He spelled it with a C. I spell my last name with a K. But thank you, Prime Minister, though. And I always enjoy your
really cool.
I always enjoy your jokes and your humor. I think you've got about a 350, 375 batting average on your jokes on Dan and Amy. But when you hit it out of the park, you hit it out of the park.
Why, thank you. And I say the same about John Anthony. He's batting like 423 or so.
Thank you, Prime Minister.
I am a long-time caller, but I'm a first-time listener to you guys today, the two of you. And I would like to offer just a moment away from this war talk and offer some crack pottery, bringing it back to Illinois. You know, this J.B. Lizzo, since the war drums have started beating, he feels rather ignored. And in the past, it was hard for J.B. to get out from under the shadow of a very, very rich father who created the son's fortune. But, you know, J.B. Lizzo has succeeded in crafting himself his brand. He has a unique brand. He's a genius of a man to come up with this whole toilet gate way to separate himself from the other politicians. Nobody else has had any kind of activity where the working man were removing his own toilet. It's an ugly thing to think about, and you gentlemen laugh, but there's no good way to grip a used toilet.
No, there's not. J.B. Lizzo.
Thank you, Prime Minister.
My favorite moniker.
Oh, my God. Did he say grip a toilet?
Yes.
Oh, gosh. Let's go to Tom from Cherville.
Yeah, as much as I can't help but think, how do we safeguard our country against an EMP attack? Because that would go up into the atmosphere, and it would detonate up there and knock out all our power for about a year. I don't want to live through that. Nobody does. Yeah. I don't think I could live through it.
And you know what, Tom? You see all of these dystopian end of the world movies that are. It's almost as if like they're prepping our minds to accept if something like that should happen. And that's one of my greatest fears in the EMP. That's me. That's one of my greatest fears in the EMP attack. And I just hope that we're doing what needs to be done to safeguard our
Yeah, but what's the best way? An Iron Dome?
Oh.
I mean, I don't know. I'm not a physicist, or I don't have the expertise.
I don't think an Iron
area.
Dome would stop an electromagnetic pulse attack.
No.
But I know that Trump has brought up a version of the Iron Dome.
Yeah.
Heck, Reagan was talking about that in the 80s with the Star Wars plan.
Yes, I remember that, and I also think that if everybody all of a sudden had to live like it was 1880, most of us wouldn't survive more than probably 2 months.
Yeah. Thanks so much for the call, Tom. How do we protect ourselves from an EMP attack? What are there tools to stop one?
Have you ever seen Better Call Saul?
Oh yeah, I love that.
His older brother who put everything. He was afraid of all electricity. Maybe that's what we do. Yeah. We just put tinfoil up all over everywhere. That'll stop the EMT attack.
Let's go to Frank from Rogers Park. Frank.
Yeah, this is a real serious issue. With other countries, we've had the idea of mutually assured destruction, but with this country, there's a spiritual nature that goes back to even Ahmadinejad, where he talked about the 12th Imam, and that's a belief that there's going to be some chaos that's going to prelude this great eschatology war.
And at the caliphate.
Yeah, but that is such a great point as to why Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. Yeah. I'm not for us attacking them. Don't misread and say, yes, attack them tomorrow. Like, we got to do this. I'm just saying the general answer to the question, it's a binary question. Would it be better if they had a nuclear weapon or not? It is not because of that ideology. You have no... So the absolute unpredictability of them with a nuclear weapon, they could cause massive, massive world mayhem.
Let's go to John in Mundelein. John, welcome to Detroit, Chicago's Morning Answer.
Good morning. So I understand the courts have ruled that Donald Trump alone has authority over to deploy the National Guard. His authority exceeds Gavin Newsom, and nothing can constrain him from deploying the National Guard. So that means he could have deployed the National Guard on January 6th to protect the United States Capitol building, and that Nancy Pelosi never really had the authority to prevent that, right? So when Trump says he couldn't do that, when he says Nancy stopped him, that was a lie.
Well, no, I mean, do we want a time machine to go back then? Yeah. Like, that just happened.
No, I want to know, when does he have the authority to deploy the National Guard or not? Which is it?
Well, the Supreme Court just decided that he has the authority to do that.
Well,
so what's the question?
So it's not the Constitution that says he alone is the commander-in-chief.
I'm not getting what the point of you trying to make, though. Because
if you want to pretend that Donald Trump somehow, that someone else usurped his authority to deploy
who
the
has
National
authority?
Guard
Okay, time out. Who has the authority to bring in the National Guard on Capitol grounds? Is it President Trump or is it Nancy Pelosi, the Sergeant at Arms, and the Capitol Police Chief? Who is it?
The commander-in-chief always has the supreme authority to deploy the National Guard. That's what the Constitution says, John.
So then, okay, you want to talk the Constitution. So then the optics of that. What happens is, so now you guys are calling him a dictator. Your side of the aisle. You love calling him a dictator. So wait, time out. I have the mic, not you. As it relates to this, I know what you guys are trying to do. This whole trick question, it's not going to work. President Trump did what he was supposed to do. The chief of police son said that President Trump offered the National Guard. The Mayor Bowser, I believe that was her name at the time, and Nancy Pelosi, they did not take him upon that because you know why? Because this was the setup after all. Let's go to Rob from Wheaton.
Hello, John. Hello, Mike. How are you?
Good morning.
Good. I on your Hillary versus Kamala, I'd say Hillary was worse. But my point of calling was, J.B. Lizzo's one name for him. I always call him J.B. Trans Fat. But now that he's waxing so Confederate in his defiance of federal government, I want to call the governor Jefferson Danish.
Jefferson Danish.
That's
not Jefferson Davis.
That's a good one.
Hillary would be a lot worse because if she had won, there would have never been an election after that. And she's the most vindictive person. Not only is she a commie, but she's so vindictive. There'd be dead corpses all over the country.
Yes, for people just tuning in, we're playing Jeopardy here, giving the answer before the question. The question is, who would have been worse if Kamala Harris had won the presidency in 2024, or if Hillary Clinton had won the presidency in 2016. You have to choose one of the two. Which is the worst? Thank you, most previous caller, for answering that question.
Thanks, Rob.
He said it was Hillary. What say you? We have time to give our own personal answers, but is there anyone on the line right now who has an answer to that question?
But before that, Blake Moore, you're right. And by the time it was by the time it was time to call the National Guard, it was over. That's how quick that happened. So, people like that guy trip me out. Let's go to Rich from Indian Head Park.
Hey, good morning, John. Good morning, Mike. How you guys doing this morning?
Good morning. Wonderful.
Nice talking to you. What I wanted to say is I would think that Kamala Harris would be the worst, and I'll tell you why. Every time she was out there campaigning, one day she'd say one thing, the next day she'd say something else, and she would just gaslight the American people. When they ask her, well, you said this. She said, well, I didn't say that. And everybody could see we had her on tape. And then you'd have a vice president who would make a decision, and then when it was wrong, he'd just come back and say, oh, well, I'm a knucklehead sometimes. I mean, that would be the worst combination for this country that there was. At least Hillary had a little more experience than them two did.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's my opinion.
Hey, Rich, real quick.
Yeah.
I always call you Joe Pesci. Are there other people in your life that call you the same, that say the same thing?
Yeah, there's a lot of people that think I sound like them.
You sound just like him, doesn't he?
They think I make them laugh.
Thanks.
The two youths.
Rich. I just want to give a shameless plug. As you guys know, Breakthrough Ideas is having their annual dinner, and I'm going to be a part of it. My good friend C.L. Bryan and rooftop pastor Corey Brooks, he actually is going to get the Everett Dirksen Award. It's going to be at the Abington Distinctive Banquets on Thursday, June 26th. Go ahead and get your tickets. Go to Breakthrough Ideas website, Facebook. I can't wait to do it. I'm really stoked. I better get that out before Jeannie Ives beats me on top of the head.
That sounds like a fun night. Pastor Corey Brooks is headlining the Ogle County Republican Party's event, the Loudon Day Dinner on August 21st as well. Get your tickets on oglecounty.gop.org.
Sounds like you are part of that.
I am. I kind of am. And we love Pastor Corey Brooks.
Let's go to my good friend Tom, who finally made good on his promise. Well, you not technically you didn't. You just bought the book Letters to John Boy that I just recently dropped. Tom,
Johnny,
what's up, brother?
Pass on me for a second. I got to move into a quiet space.
Oh, my God. Did he just do that? All right. Let's go to Greg from LaGrange. What's up, brother?
Hey, how you doing, John Anthony?
All right.
I think, and your guest, I'm sorry, his name is escaping me right now.
Mike.
I think Hillary Clinton, Mike, I think Hillary Clinton would have been worse because she would be in her probably second term, and the damage she could do. I mean, we know Kamala Harris and Walz would be terrible, but they're not very, they're not as wicked, smart, or Stalin type of evil as Hillary Clinton may have been. I think Hillary Clinton would have been much more a problem in terms of setting up the government and the tentacles of the deep state being even deeper than they are now. We know how bad that is.
And she's much smarter than Kamala.
I didn't want to say that, but you know what I meant. The thing I think is most important is that we remember that we don't want to put boots in the ground in the Middle East. We're not going to push for regime change. I don't want that to be what's reflected in my position. I want an organic change in the beliefs of the Iranian people. But whatever they do, they better be very careful in doing it because it could blow up in their face. It's a huge risk.
I agree.
And I think Trump is the only guy that would be able to pull it off.
I agree. Thanks so much, Greg.
Thank you, Greg.
I don't know if you saw that video. I don't know if that was an old video from the remember the spring Arab Spring.
Arab Spring, yeah.
I don't know if that was from there then, but there were a group of young ladies who took off the hijab and they were just waving it around, celebrating. I don't know if that's old or if that was new. And they said the video was from the Iranian people. So. That'll be.
Oh, they're very unpopular with all the sanctions and the economy. There is a wreck. Yeah, but he's right. It would have to be organic. We're out of the regime change business.
But we had that. Barack Obama didn't take part in it.
Right.
He didn't support it, and that's what I'm talking about. Let's go to Glenn from Orlando. What's up, brother?
Hey, guys, great show. Trump is calling for a special prosecutor to investigate the 2020 election because there has to be substantial fraud that went on, and there was no way Joe Biden won that election, and I support that. With the Chinese involvement, with the ballots and everything, there has to be a lot of fraud going on.
Well, you know what, Glenn? We had a guest that we were going to interview today, but he had phone troubles, and that was one of the things that we were going to discuss, as he's very close with Dan Bongino and Kash Patel. That's one of the reasons why I brought him on. And if you missed earlier, you may want to listen to the podcast where we talked about the reason why Bongino and Patel and Bondi are so quiet is because of what I've been told is some of the investigations that they're doing. So
yeah, they're building a case.
They're building a case.
This Chinese news with the ballots development is really, really alarming, and it's a mainstream thing. This isn't some fringe theory. This is real stuff that we have evidence that China did. I mean, it's going to get nasty.
We all saw the curve and how it just spiked up. And all of those ballots, mail-in ballots, were for Joe Biden, none for Trump. Not one of those votes mail-in ballot votes were for Donald Trump. We saw the spike. So, miss me with that. We knew what was happening. Let's go to Kerry from Crown Point. Welcome to Chicago's Morning Answer.
Gentlemen, I don't think Hillary would have opened the border. I think we would have seen more of the same. I know she's diabolical. But Kamala Harris has proven that she was all with opening the border, and that's the biggest danger to our country. And Hillary and Bill were not woke. They got drugged to that party just to be relevant.
Good point. Thanks, Kerry. Let's go to Phil from Blue Island.
I find it very interesting where the chief of police in Los Angeles said that the media was the one that was coming down and making things seem like they were worse than what they were. And now, and my point is Trump is I commend them about fake media or the fake news or whatever. And I'm looking at Israel, and they got all these reporters, all these major reporters going into Israel because of the bombs that are coming from Iran. Why aren't these same reporters so fair and balanced? Why aren't they in Gaza? Why aren't they reporting from Gaza?
Would you want to go to Gaza?
Would
you want to put your life on the line?
If I'm a reporter, you putting your life on the line in Israel. Iran is bombing Israel. Okay. They're bombing Tel Aviv. Why your life is worth more than in Israel than it is in Gaza? That don't make no sense. Right. If you're a reporter.
All right. Thanks, Phil. Appreciate the call, brother. Let's go to Steve from Orland.
Good morning. I'd like to. My question is, I'd like to know why Chicago police have to buy their own bulletproof vests. Thank you.
That's a good question. As you know, Scott Tucker from Scott Tucker Solutions, he just did a fundraiser to help offset that, to help officers buy bulletproof vests. Actually, the guy that we were going to have on, Michael Letts, also Invest USA. This is what they also do as well. They fundraise and they go around and to help officers buy the vest. I mean, I had a level 3 vest. That vest was $750.
Really?
Yeah, that means I had the metal plate so to stop somebody from stabbing me. So if they stabbed me in the chest, it went to the metal plate.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't puncture. So those vests, man, they're very, very, very expensive. Before we go to the next call, what's your answer, Mike, as it relates to who would have been worse, Hillary or Kamala?
Now, these are both obviously terrible, Republic-threatening developments, but my answer is it would have been worse if Kamala had won this last time, which would have because it would have, for all intents and purposes, killed the idea of Trump coming back into the White House, but they would have thrown the book at him. They probably would have thrown him in jail. They were getting all ready to do that.
Yeah.
And a Supreme Court justice would probably flip. And all of the stuff that they did, all the lies they told would have been justified in their mind.
Yeah.
That so Kamala would have been worse, I think, if she had won than a Hillary Clinton victory in 2016.
Now, think about this. You brought up the Supreme Court. Trump was able to appoint three
just in one term.
Imagine Hillary have appointed 3. They would have not only had the courts, the White House, and both houses in Congress.
Yeah.
Imagine
Roe v. Wade would not have been overturned.
None of this would have happened. Now, with Kamala Harris, I think she would have been basically another Joe Biden because she would not have controlled the White House. This would have been Obama's fourth term as president, if you ask
and
me.
The idea that she would have absolutely been the dumbest person ever to hold the Oval Office. By and large, she would have been. And to see her in the Oval Office right now, or in the war room trying to make a decision about Iran, I just shudder to think. Hillary, as evil as she is, at least was smart.
Wait, I see the thing about the alleged Clinton list.
Yeah,
that's what would have scared me too.
Yeah,
to have her regain power and the alleged list. I'm not saying that it's a real list, but it's very interesting. Let's go to Henry from the Northwest side.
Hello. Thanks for taking my call. My question or observation is, whenever there's a prisoner exchange, they trade one Israeli for like 1,000 of theirs. Mm-hmm. So if they kill one Israeli, can Israel kill 1,000 of them to make it fair?
I doubt if they take that tact. I doubt if they would take that tact. I don't like the imbalance of any of the trades that we see even when we trade hostage. We give up. Prisoners.
Yeah,
I don't
Brittany
like the
Griner.
imbalance.
What about the Brittany Griner exchange? That was a raw deal.
Yeah, it really was. And who's somebody who realizes just how great the American system really is.
Yeah.
Let's go back to Tom from Blue Island.
Hey, Johnny, sorry about that. Mike, good show today. So,
thank you.
I know this originated with Hillary Kamala, which I think clearly Hillary is the worst. In the interim, though, we've had Phil from Blue Island commend President Trump. We had John from Mundelein compare D.C., which isn't even a state, to California, and asking if there was some kind of court process, which never happened because President Trump was rebuked in his offer to supply National Guards, and started out with David Balsack, who clearly came out and blamed Netanyahu for what's going on in the Middle East. Netanyahu is like a guy fighting 6 people surrounding him, and he hits one of them, and he gets blamed for it. Golda Meir said a long time ago that if everyone in the Middle East dropped their weapons, including Israel, nothing would happen. And if Israel dropped their weapons, they'd be destroyed. That was an unbelievable, the Netanyahu stuff was unbelievable. But as far as Hillary is concerned, clearly Hillary would have been worse because if not for Trump, the first election, we wouldn't have had exposed all the things that have gone on.
That's true.
People have these big dogs that protect them. I had a beagle for 15 years. If someone came into our house, there's nothing that beagle would do except make you aware that someone's in the house, and the rest is up to you.
Yeah.
So we've gotten our warning.
That's true.
Of what these people are willing to do to us, and it's up to us now to see if we're going to do anything about it.
Thanks, Tom. Last call, always on the Chicago's Morning Answer. Chuck from
Delavan.
Hey, how you doing? Hey, thanks for mentioning my high school garage band, Obama's. Stop worrying about Iran. Read Reuters, 2012. Obama gave Iran millions of tons of wheat so that they wouldn't starve. We could have starved them guys out. Hey, forget about all that. Deuster Becks at 2 p.m. Sunday. Get ready for the party.
All right, Chuck's got a bad connection today. Thank you so much, Chuck. Mike, I want to thank you for joining me today. I want to thank our technical producer, Justin Kosak, and our good friend, Keith Conrad. Hi, Keith Conrad. I really enjoyed doing the Morning Answer.
I
Chicago
did as well, man.
And Detroit.
So much fun.
Yeah, and
flew by, man.
The last thing I want to say, guys, I wrote my first book, Letters to John Boy. I would love the support. Head over to blackandwhiteradio.com if you want an autograph. If you don't, just go to amazon.com, search up Letters to John Boy, and I really want to make it. It started off at number 700,000. Now I'm at 95,000. As far as book rank. So
Letters to John Boy.
Letters to John Boy. It would be great. And with that said, Chicago, thank you.
They're burning American and Israeli flags. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News.
La
Protesters in Iran's capital, Tehran, angry over